All right, y'all. We back in the building. JV Wins Dogon SS. Thank you very much for tuning in to the channel. Conscious Approach once again on YouTube. We are back December the 9th. Hope everybody out there is having a great week. Before we get things started, I always like to say, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Leave those comments. You know, typical disclaimers that all aspiring content creators like to state before the beginning of any creation of said content. Also, check us out on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts because we are now available in those spaces as well. I just got hit with my annual RSS bill, so I know for a fact that we are on in those spaces because I'm paying for it.
That's so right.
Yeah. So shouts out to everybody who checks us out on those various channels as well. Just trying to be available in any and all places possible. We greatly appreciate the support of anybody who is so inclined to follow along with us. As we always like to say, we don't take for granted the value of your digital currency. So if you are compelled to share that piece of digital currency with us, it is indicative of the fact that you feel as though you are getting value out of the content that we produce, which is the highest form of flattery. And we do not take that for granted. So with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get things started. The first thing that we are going to get into is a sound bite from one of Dogon SS's favorite people in the world. This individual is indeed a friend of the channel at this point, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, who I guess is making a name or a career rather out of psychoanalyzing the world's high value men. I guess that's her niche. Highly educated Black woman, and she's also a content creator. The vast majority of the time that you are going to come across her, she is going to be a guest on someone else's platform in which that person gets personal, opens up, and expresses various vulnerabilities so that she can then peer into the recesses of your psychosis to explain in various capacities how, where, and when you went wrong in life. That appears to be the angle with which she is carving a niche for herself in this content creator space. The latest individual to which that applies is Shannon Sharpe. She was recently a guest on Club Shay, which is Shannon Sharpe's own branded show. And they got into his personal business and, him dealing with women and this recent experience with the OnlyFans chick who he ended up paying out. And they got into a whole back and forth about why he does what he does. And the synopsis, that she was able to conclude is his need to mature and grow up and graduate out of the little boy phase and to become a grown man and learn how to love himself so that he can gain the capacity to love others, so on and so forth. So we are going to get into this sound of Cheyenne Bryant psychoanalyzing another friend of the channel, Shannon Sharpe. And, and then we will talk about what she had to say on the back end, of course.
Part with you is you've accomplished so much in everything you've touched transactionally. It has turned to gold, all the way down to the gold jacket. But like the fig tree, you still haven't found yourself. All the way at the age of 60. And finding yourself takes the heart.
The mind replays what the heart can't delete.
Hello. And so you have been operating from such a mind space so that you don't have to even have a connection with the heart, that it has put you in such a deficit of self. And that's what goes back to when I said a man who can procreate with multiple women without wanting to make sure that there is a foundation or family there, he has a loss of self. And that man has an identity crisis. And there is a huge self-love deficit because a man who loves himself makes decisions that represent self-love. And everything that you have externalized is a direct reflection of you. The brokenness in the families you created, that's just the brokenness in you. How you can be successful transactionally, but your heart is over here, talking about, well, at what point am I going to get seen? And then what the little boy in you tells the heart is, didn't nobody want to see you when you was young. Wasn't nobody tripping off you then. So why do we think anybody is deserving, right? Mm-hmm. Or why do I think as a little boy that you're deserving of someone who would take your heart and really protect it and create a safe space? So it's easier for you to have transactional sex or have things that are convenient for you because that gives you control. And control is just insecurity. Insecurity is just fear. And that's that little boy in you who is so afraid that if I can't touch and go with everything, I might end up touch and staying and might get stuck in a place that I don't know how to navigate. Let me say this again, not in a place that isn't safe, not in a place that isn't loving, but in a place that the little boy in you does not know how to navigate. It's time for the grown man in you to grow the fuck up and give yourself a chance to love, whatever that looks like, and to gain a sense of self of who you really are at your heart space. Because transactional life isn't really legacy. It just isn't. It's nice on paper.
Yeah.
But it's not legacy. The real wealth and the real legacy is what Dijon has. And that's family. That's family. I'm not saying you don't have it with your girls. And I'm not saying it's too late to create it.
Right.
But what I'm saying is I would like to offer that at some point, you do start to say, let me just dive into my heart by myself. Even if you're still doing your transactional stuff with women or whatever, I'm not saying stop, you grown. But start to just get a sense of self of like who you are at the heart space. Because that's our heart is who we are. Mm. Our mind is something that we have to have dominion over to control. But our heart is something we can't control because it's the authenticity of who.
All right, so there you go.
Jesus Christ.
So, there are a lot of buzzwords getting thrown around in there.
You think, man?
Insecurity and various other things. Essentially what she's saying is, he can't love others because he's afraid of loving himself and all these various other things. It's easier for Shannon Sharpe to be transactional because it's how he can retain power. And loving, I guess, is what she's saying. It creates the capacity for you to not always have the power. But that's her take. First of all, I do want to say that this is payback, sir, for last week. This is payback for that Black Boy Max American. This is payback for that. So I purposefully use this because I know how you feel about this woman. Because I would imagine you feel similar things that I felt watching that dribble last week from that insane woman going after Black Boy Max. So I just wanted to put that out there. That's the reason why it made it onto the stream this week. But the floor is yours. Did you think that there's any validity in what she said there towards Mr. Sharpe?
First of all, that's hilarious, bro. But and if you guys didn't catch his rant, bro, do yourselves a favor and play that one pay that one back, man. JV Wins had a ball with that one. But honestly, I would say that what she said was true. So this is my thing with Cheyenne Bryant, bro. She's the low-hanging fruit therapist. She just goes for the lowest of the hanging and then does all of this stuff, all of this parlor trick psychology where, okay, yeah, it makes sense what you're saying. And one person could look at Shannon Sharpe's life and go, he's right. She's right. Like, he got to grow up. It's that little boy inside of him that's saying all this other stuff, man. And so, anybody, any armchair psychologist could say what she just said. So, normally, Shannon Sharpe's a smart guy. And I don't think anything that she said right there is not something that he hasn't already come across in his own mind. Somebody else done told him this, or, this wasn't really that deep. But, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant you know, the grifters of grifters, she's gonna say all of these buzzwords and all of that stuff and make it sound good for people that believes in her grift. So honestly, I wasn't really moved by what she said. I'd be shocked if Shannon was surprised by what she said, but at the same time, Shannon Sharpe was out here getting sued for 50 M's for not being grown enough, you know, and living transactional. So, you know, I guess he did need to hear this, but to me, this was elementary level stuff. Really wasn't that deep. But there's people out there that think, you know, live, laugh, love slogans are deep, and other things in life that are, you know, Love Island stuff. They think stuff that's said on there is earth shattering and moving. So Dr. Cheyenne Bryant just probably blew somebody's socks off with that. But me personally, I think that was just regular grifty talk and commercial psychology. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, man, on Dr. Cheyenne Bryant psychoanalyzing Shay, saying that he needs to grow the F up? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, on the surface, everything that she said is valid, you know, but at the same time, it's like, I don't think Shannon Sharpe doesn't know these things. Like, you know, my only issue with the idea that a man who lives transactionally is due to brokenness and like trauma. Sometimes these guys are living this way because they choose to. Sometimes it's just not that deep. Like the only issue that I have with people like Shannon Sharpe, and this is for everybody, not just Shannon Sharpe. I just think Shannon Sharpe is an example of this. I think in the world in general, people who are not relationship oriented need to stay away from people who are relationship oriented. That's what I think. And I think that when a non-relationship oriented person gets with a relationship oriented person, I think the result on the back end is going to be the creation of another non-relationship oriented person. Because that non-relationship oriented person is going to essentially myopically pollute the mindset of the other person who was, before they met this person, relationship oriented. So I think that I think there needs to be a common meeting of the minds in terms of people who are about that relationship life being with other people who are about that relationship life. And where individuals like Shannon Sharpe do mess things up and cause a lot of confusion is they operate from the standpoint of romanticizing the idea of being about that relationship life when they know deep down inside they're not really like that. I personally, even though I'm not cut from that cloth necessarily, I don't fault people who understand who they are and say, I'm not about that life, therefore I'm not going to live that way. And the primary issue that I have with commercial psychologists such as Cheyenne Bryant is they operate from a baseline understanding that the right way to live is being relationship oriented. When I don't necessarily agree with that. I believe the right way to live is being consistent with who you truly are. So if you are not relationship oriented, the right way to be is to be upfront and honest and live your life in such a way that people can make informed decisions when they're dealing with you. If you're not relationship oriented, move in such a way that it becomes clear that you are not that way. Vice versa, if you are relationship oriented, you should also move in that way and not try to be someone who is not that way. The world needs to just have less confusion in it. And there's a lot of crossing of the streams with relationship oriented people masquerading as the opposite and vice versa. And so, where I will say that she does have somewhat of a point is it does take a certain level of maturity to be confident enough to walk in the energy set that actually represents your true self. So it does take a mature individual to say, I'm not really about that relationship life. Let me make it clear and let me live that way. equally as such, it also takes a mature person to say, I am about that relationship life. Therefore, I don't care about being not about that relationship life because it represents my true self to be this way. I think no matter which side of the coin we're looking at it from, it does take a certain level of maturity to be confident enough to walk in that light. And so, if one would surmise that an individual not doing that is indicative of a lack of maturity or some form of a brokenness or some trauma, maybe I can halfway understand that. But a lot of times, these individuals know who they are and they're just faking the funk for the purposes of trying to be consistent with what society has told them is the right way to live. And to me, that's not trauma or immaturity. That's just like, an unwillingness to, be consistent with who you are because of a need to conform to what the world says that you should be. I kind of put those two things in different buckets, if that makes sense. So I think the issue that I have with people like her is she's operating from this position of the only one way to live is the way that includes family and commitment and monogamy. And if you are so inclined to not live according, if you are so inclined to live not in accordance with those tenets, it means that by default there's something inherently wrong with you. And that part of it I don't really appreciate because sometimes there's people in the world, both men and women, who know that they're not necessarily about conforming to the societal norm, and it doesn't mean that they're broken inherently. It just means that that relationship life just ain't for everybody. It just isn't. Like sometimes it really is that simple. Not everybody is built for that, and they can be stable, well-rounded, contributing members to society while also understanding that that's not necessarily for them. But what she will have Shannon Sharpe believe is his propensity for being transactional isn't necessarily due to free will or him making his own decision. It's because he's immature and broken and traumatized. And maybe there is some shred of truth to that. I don't necessarily know everything about his personal life, but that isn't necessarily by default the reason why everybody chooses to live that way. But at the same time, if I am going to be fair to the conversation, people do need to stop muddying the waters via being confusing, and people need to stop romanticizing the notion of being something that is opposite what they really are. So I guess in a roundabout way, multiple things can be true at the same time, but where I will cross over into the territory of dangerous rhetoric is I think that there is the chance that somebody who is doing something out of free will, choosing to do it willfully, can be bamboozled into believing that the reason why they're doing it is because they're broken and traumatized. And I don't necessarily think that's always the case. So that's where her armchair psychology can be pretty effective, because a person who thinks, well, I must be doing this because I am broken inside, they're more apt to listen to her. And I just don't think that that's always the case.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. That's the part about it that seems grifty, is that there's going to be more people. That's because there's a lot of broke people out here and a lot of broken people out here. And there's a lot of people out here that's been conditioned to be out of their damn minds. And so, a lot of them, there's a lot of them in the world. So that means a lot of people watch Shay. And a lot of people going to get caught in that bucket of they either came from a broken home, so therefore I must be broken, or they're out here in this crazy ass dating pool and they've been swinging and missing and this and this and that, and they might have found themselves in some semi-transactional relationship. Therefore I must be broken. And it's too much of. There's a difference between being systemically manipulated and broken. You can find out that you've been under some type of spell and get out of it, versus you thinking it's hopeless because the system is correct, but you just can't seem to get your act together. And the way that Cheyenne Bryant does her psychology with either Cam Newton, what's that boy name, Nick Cannons, and now Shay. I mean, she's running a gambit on these ducks,
on entertainment industry guys,
and then going there and then saying these these bucket ass ways of doing psychology because it's one size fits all for her. If you out here and you're in your 40s or 50s and you out here and you got multiple baby mamas and you're not married, you're broken. And this is why you're broken. And it's such a big net. Again, a lot of people can get caught up in that. And what she's ignoring, in my opinion, is she's ignoring the systemic things that are going on in this country, in this world, but specifically in this country, that puts people in these situations and circumstances. Again, this system is not all the way correct, and she's operating her arguments as if the system is fine, and it's not. A lot of people, I think everybody needs a therapist. Let's start there. But just because you need a therapist don't mean you're these broken people that Cheyenne Bryant is trying to make these people out to be. They just probably need the right thing to click in their brain that, that's not normal. And it's like, nah, it's not actually. But I seen it all on TV. I seen it all on social media. I thought that's what everybody was out here doing. And it's like, yeah, well, that's manipulation and that's crazy stuff. You know, that's used to sell products and other things. And so you can't look at what Love Island talks about love. Love Island is just a big groupie session. I got a pool out here in my complex. I peeped out there during the summertime. It looked like a shooting of Love Island. Everybody out there just mingling and playing music, and it wasn't a pool party. It was just a whole bunch of people, I guess, from our complex, just Love Islanding it up. Not too long after, bruh. You know what I'm saying? I see a notice on the elevator talking about something. Oh, the pool shut down. I read the review, and it's shut down for health reasons. Nah, I'm sure that they probably didn't put enough chlorine in the pool. But me personally, I think it was because they were sitting there doing all that Love Island stuff. You should have seen it, bro. The only thing was missing was the cameraman. It was like a reality show out there. It was so weird. The people were behaving weird. And I'm like, y'all watch too much of this stuff. And I bring all that stuff up to say is that a lot of people got caught up in the mix. They got lost in the sauce out here. So they're just operating. And so since they're just operating, they live transactionally. Since they're doing that, they're in hookup culture. Since they're doing that, they're this. Those people aren't necessarily broken. They believe in a broken system.
Right.
And so Cheyenne Bryant is sitting here talking to these people as if you're broken. You're a mess. And it's like, well, yeah, kind of, sort of. You know, it's one of those things, nature versus nurture, whatever, environmental things. I think environmental stuff really has an impact on people's psychology. And I think it controls, socialism is important too. And she neglects the socialistic aspects of her diagnostics of these people. And I don't care for that. I think it's lazy. She's too direct. She's too harsh. And she needs to be understanding that maybe Shay got caught up in football world and all this. Be a little bit more understanding, but she just comes at people as if they're the broken person. And it might be a little bit deeper than that. So me personally, I just think there's more elements involved than shame on you as a person. You know what I mean? So I don't care for her style. I would say that.
Yeah, I think that there is room for a little more nuance in her analysis for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But again, she is someone, in order to understand how she can take the angles that she takes when psychoanalyzing these individuals, you have to also keep in mind the baseline understanding that she's coming at it from, which is committed monogamy setups is how you live righteously. And so anything that deviates from that is indicative of there being a problem with the way that you're living your life. So that baseline understanding is the way that she approaches all of these types of situations. And so it's not a coincidence that the individuals to whom she is speaking to are individuals who, once again, if I'm going to be fair to the conversation, are people who I consider to be on that spectrum of being confused. Because, Shannon Sharpe 1 minute will talk about what it takes to get married and to stay committed in a long-term relationship. But then in the next minute, he's paying an OnlyFans chick $50 million. And so you say to yourself, how does somebody who believes in these tenets of marriage and family and legacy can also be someone who carries around with an OnlyFans chick and then gets sued or gets caught on an audio with some random chick called Michelle? How does that happen? Right? Or like you talk, or like Nick Cannon, somebody who has all of these kids and has all of these different baby mamas, but will spare no expense to talk about what it would take for him to settle down and get married. Like, two of those things seem to be diametrically opposed. So there's guys in the world, and these aren't just celebrities, these are regular everyday men too. And I think that a lot of the reason why there's so many of this is because of the socialization aspect that you speak of. There's a lot of guys who may have grown up believing the right way to live is consistent with what Bryant believes is the right way to live, but then along the way there's outside stimuli that interrupts the conversation. And, you know, one too many social media feeds, one too many reality TV shows, listening to one too many rap songs, watching one too many suggestive TV shows and music videos. Now, the way that you're moving in life is counterintuitive to the way that you grew up believing the right way to live is. But like you, I don't believe that that is evidence of trauma. I believe that that's an evidence of understanding the impact of modern socialization and how to live above the fray when it comes to that. And I kind of feel like she conflates these various concepts into one giant ball of you're traumatized, or one giant ball of here's where you went wrong, or you're immature, or you're insecure. And that's where I kind of get uncomfortable with the nature of the kind of conversations that she has, because a less self-thinking individual will sit down across from her and say, oh yeah, well, I must be real messed up and broken. How can I fix this, Miss Bryant? And it's like, nah, man, all you really got to do is just not believe everything you see and read. Like, just don't believe everything that comes across your feed. Like, just understand when something is propaganda and socialization. But it doesn't necessarily mean that at some point during the delicate process of your individual development that you were just beaten down and broken and traumatized by the world. That isn't always necessarily the case. So, you know, that's why I'm discomforted sometimes with what she's saying, because I get the impression that if Shannon Sharpe can buy into that, and if Nick Cannon can buy into it, then certainly the guy who, you know, is working at a car dealership, who already probably watches one too many YouTube videos or listens to one too many relationship podcasts, is going to see that and then also internalize that as I'm a broken individual too.
It's dangerous, bro.
Yeah, so that's where it can become a little convoluted, and that's where I just kind of depart from the whole message.
Yeah, the Cheyenne Bryant stuff, because again, she's sitting here, you know, is the pot calling the kettle black kind of situation, because when we covered her, when Paul Pierce psychoanalyzed her, put her in her place and said, hey man, what's going on with you? Like, are you married? And then she's talking about she's in this long-term, not long-term situation. She spun the block. You spun the block. How old are you, Cheyenne?
I believe her exact characterization was, I'm dating. I think that's what she said.
Yeah, she said she's dating, but she's also, you know what I'm saying, kept keeping her options open, like all of that stuff. So she was just basically saying she outside. So how old are you, Cheyenne? What, 40 or about there, or 41? Like, you're there? You know, are you at freezing egg stage because you don't have any kids? Like, what are you doing?
I think she's in IVF phase at this point.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? So what do you do? What do you do? This is my thing. Everybody's allowed to have their opinion about stuff, especially doctors and all this other stuff. So whatever. But she gets on this soapbox, acting as though she's not broken, acting as though she's holier than thou.
Well, she'll just say that her single status is because of the bad dating pool, or that there's not a government. No, I'm just saying that's what she would say. Like, she's going to parrot the speech of a lot of women who are in the same situation as her. I tell you, bro, there's a complete and utter lack of accountability when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah,
and,
amen.
and a lack of accountability when it comes to the role these individuals play and where they are, and not understanding the various choices that they can or cannot make in order to change that circumstance.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And she Cheyenne Bryant has it going on online when it comes to people skepticizing about her alternative lifestyle, possibly. So she's just out here herself. Now I can see if she was a person that was admitting where she's at. Hey man, because I'm broken, I can see the broken in you, kind of thing. But since she's sitting there acting as though she got her act together, and you're creating broken homes and all this other stuff, her pointing fingers, that's the part about it I don't like. You know what I'm saying? And I think she needs to come up off all of that energy. She wouldn't have so much internet disdain. But she is a polarizing character online. I would argue that there's more people out there that don't care for her than people out there that think she's some whatever. But as long as she continues this grift, she's going to continue to build a fan base and people out there that think she's slaying it. But her herself is a victim of the same system that I was talking about earlier about socialization, because of her strong independent nature. All right. And her doing all this other stuff. And she herself wearing iced out things with her name on it, Dr. Cheyenne. It's like, what are you doing? And it's like you yourself are a victim of the same socialization that I was talking about. The same one that got Shay roped up, same thing that got Cam Newton roped off.
That's right.
And you can't sit here and act like you're not in that realm. You're in the same matrix as them. So don't sit down and talk down to these men. And that's the problem that I have with her. So if you want to acknowledge that, hey, I'm in the matrix too, they got me too, that's another spirit. And I wouldn't be so harsh on her. But until she gets her DeVry degree out of here, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, man. I'm done.
I agree. A woman who pray tells to be all about marriage and family, as she does on a rather consistent basis, isn't 43 and without those things by accident. There is a reason for that. So, she doesn't necessarily tend, at least not that I've heard. I could be wrong, but I have not seen or heard any of her acknowledgement as to why there seems to be a disconnect between all the various things that she stands for and her own personal life setup, right?
Correct.
But none of that stuff is by coincidence, for sure. Don't think that that's an accident. It's not an accident. No. So, she'll likely deflect and say that it's because she'll either say it's because I choose to be, or because there aren't, or I haven't found someone to XYZ, basically making it about everybody else, not about her, which is what a lot of which is what a lot of individuals in her position do. They'll always rationalize it in such a way to deflect onto the rest of the world. She's cut from that cloth, I would imagine. So I do think that this borders on dangerous rhetoric. I don't think Shannon Sharpe necessarily is traumatized, albeit I don't know everything about his personal life. I just think that he is perhaps confused and doesn't know how to be consistent with who it is that he wants to be. But I also don't think that that is by default indicative of trauma or being a broken person. I think those two things kind of are not necessarily mutually inclusive, but I'm sure she would suggest that they are.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I do agree he needs to grow up, because that's what we said before when we were talking about his situation. He does need to grow up. That's pretty obvious. Everybody can see that. And I think I don't think it's a case of trauma unless he was dealing with some, shardy women. But I would really say it's a situation of arrested development. Yeah. And he got into football world, and he lived in that football world long after he retired. And he just carried on that same behavior of just trying to splack off and party and drink on the weekends. He didn't grow up. And I don't think that's necessarily due to whatever she's trying to imply, but he does need to grow up though.
Yeah, I would definitely agree if it was all about maturity. But where I depart is when it's like there's something broken in him, in his psyche. That's when I'm just like, I can't go that far, because he's choosing to he wants to do these things. Right. He just doesn't know how to be honest about it. And I don't
did it that night.
Yeah.
Probably with Cheyenne. Hey, my bad. Allegedly, I don't know how this works, man. Damn.
Hey, shouts out to Shannon Sharpe, man. More dangerous rhetoric from our friend of the channel, Cheyenne Bryant.
You think she's doing that? Yeah. Favor for favor.
You think she what?
You think she's doing that? I said, you think she's doing that, Cheyenne Bryant, for all these dudes? You know, favor for favor. You know what I'm saying?
You never know, maybe. You know, but I do know one thing. I don't need to know too much about her personally to be able to tell that in her mind, she's only going to deal with you if you're a quote unquote high value man.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
All right, and we move on next to a story featuring a newcomer to the channel. This guy goes by the name of Dijon. He's a hip hop artist. I'm not very familiar with who he is, but apparently he's a rather big deal because he's been nominated for a couple of Grammys, and he's starting to talk more and more about his musical journey and things that he has going on. But something that I thought was interesting that he said was that he is dissatisfied with the current course of musical critiques, and he feels like music critics in general need to be a little more constructive and a bit firmer in terms of how they go about doing their jobs, because it's become a little too soft. So this says Dijon calls on music critics to go harder in their reviews, be less kind. Dijon believes music criticism, at least in its current state, is a little bit too soft. The baby artist and recent SNL musical guest, who's up for 2 potential Grammy wins at next year's ceremony thanks to his work on Justin Bieber's Swag album, gave his decidedly astute assessment in a recent conversation with Pitchfork for the publication's long-running Over-Under series. Asked to declare whether music criticism at large was overrated or underrated, Dijon ultimately came to the conclusion that it is indeed the latter after outlining its undeniable importance in his early life. I moved around so much that music criticism was how I learned about things. I mean, I had cousins and stuff, you know, all the early rap music that I grew up around was given to me. But when I started branching out and I was not really tethered to a space anymore, I would read a ton of music journalism and just try to figure out what CDs to torrent. It really changed my life. I value it quite a bit. I still read a lot of music criticism. These days, however, Dijon feels critics aren't digging in hard enough. This has been a growing critique as of late, particularly in music, as it seems some have traded valuable criticism for a softer approach that ensures artists access. I think it's a little bit too soft now. I think all criticism should be dangerously harsh, actually, so underrated. Pitchfork, honestly, you guys can go harder. I think that you can go harder. Yeah, be less kind, I think. The 33-year-old is currently on the road in support of Baby, recently ranked by Complex as one of the best albums of 2025, coming in at number 27 between projects from Olivia Dean and Karol G. He's scheduled to hit Detroit and Minneapolis this week before taking the tour overseas in January. So I'm not very familiar with this guy's catalog, to be honest, but I was definitely appreciative of what he had to say there. Do you think that there's any merit to that? You muted.
My bad. Damn. But yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely, bro. Like, I mean, I know you talk about this all the time, man. And I really didn't pay attention to it. I noticed it, but I didn't it wasn't registering. But yeah, this has been going on since the blog days, since the guys were doing all the blogging, and there were guys that were critical of people still, I felt, back in those days when it started. But then once these blogs realized that they're making enemies of these artists and or labels, they started to change their behavior and everything became dope and hot. So then it went from me trusting these people as a source to actually going, hey man, you're recommending people that I think are garbage. Before, I used to come over here to hear from people that I've never heard of before, to know who they are and appreciate it. But now it just seems like you're feeding me these people as if you're part of the label. And I don't want commercial. I want underground. I want what the streets want. And I don't think the streets want this. So you sitting there talking about, oh yeah, 5 out of 5 with this mixtape. I'm like, 5 out of 5. Wow. Yeah. Let me give that a spin. And I'm listening to it and it's ass.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, this is straight cheap. What are you talking about? And so yeah, I lost it was some blogs I used to check out all the time, man, and they just kept losing credibility with me to the point where I just tuned out completely. And it's not like and that was before, you know, blogs really faded out. Like I left before everybody left. But then, you know, that streamlined into YouTube content. And then, you know, the bigger channels, they were more or less doing the same thing where everything was hot and I couldn't stand it. You know, there was a few dudes out there that kept it real and I would check in with those people, and I still kind of do sometimes. And for the most part, they're objective and they're giving their own personal takes, and they don't like certain people. They glaze others, but there's others they don't like. And that's what I want. I want a balance at least. There's people out here that just do nonstop glazery. And I can't stomach it because I know the cap is real. It's just like whenever they would have a guest come to studio or whatever, and hey, last guest you had in studio was the dopest artist you've heard this year.
Yeah, right.
Now this guy's in here. Now he's got the best album, but I thought the last guy had the best album. Like, which one is it? So then I got tired of those people. So all in all, man, I just think it's a form of capitalistic commercial ass media who are just doing and saying whatever it takes for these industry plant artists to find their way into the mainstream. And to me, it's disgusting. So I rarely take people's opinion, about music nowadays. Because of all of this, and this has been going on for at least over a decade, where I've noticed it, because I noticed this, like I said, back in the blog days. So this was 2008, 2009.
Yeah. Even before that,
yeah. And so I listen, man. So nowadays, I'm completely jaded, and I only listen to actual people who recommend stuff. You know, like a regular person, because I scroll across their video and they telling me about XYZ, and I'll go check that out. But these formalized forms of media, I don't buy anything they're selling. But what are your thoughts, man, on this Dijon guy saying that, hey, man, these media outlets need to be a little bit more critical of these artists nowadays? What are your thoughts, bro?
Of course, I agree with him 100,000 million trillion %.
Mm-hmm.
Music criticism to me died right around the time that traditional media died. So I think once traditional media, newspapers, cable TV, magazines, traditional websites, because even that's dead now because everything is just social media feeds.
Mm-hmm.
Once that stuff gave way to podcasts and YouTube and stuff like that, that's pretty much when like the art of music criticism to me died, because back when traditional media was reigning supreme, everyone had to go to one central source in order to be able to get their information. So if you wanted to know about the latest album, you had to watch BET Rap City The Basement, or you know what I'm saying, you had to read you had to read The Source or any of these magazines. You had to seek these outlets out. I remember anytime I wanted to know whether an album was good or not, or just to read a review to get a general sense of how good it could be, I would go to like FYE's website or any of these various other webs or any of these other web pages, because whenever a new album came out, there was a write-up of the album, and it was always in depth, and it went into how good or bad it was, some of the constructive critiques. And I would always use that as a general barometer to be able to determine whether I wanted to give it a particular listen or two. And as traditional media gave way to new media, I feel like that died, because with new media, it's all about curating your audience and curating your own place in the algorithm. So you need your show to get as many views as possible. And you need your show to get as many subscribers as possible. And you want your individual show or platform to have as many likes and comments as possible so that it can get served up more. Yep. And the best way for you to be able to create a pathway for that to happen is if you get some of these artists to actually be on your show, or to at the very least feel favorably about your platform, so that you can perhaps establish some sort of a working relationship or get them to be some sort of a semi-regular guest. But of course, that's not going to happen if you write a review of this person's album saying that it's not that good. So in order to, in order to sidestep compromising your ability to being able to prop up your own platform, you basically forsake constructive criticism when it comes to the actual art of the music itself, in lieu of making sure that that person feels favorably about whatever it is that you're doing. And so as a result of that, constructive critiques when it comes to the music are completely and totally non-existent at this point. And you mentioned the blog days. Like my earliest recollection of this is the early 2000s, where we really started to see the disintegration of traditional hip hop media in lieu of all this new stuff, in lieu of podcasting and YouTubing, and now TikToking, even stuff like Instagram, when stuff like live started to become a thing, or even Twitter. When live Twitter feeds were a thing back in the day, there were artists who would be tweeting on behalf of some random platform. So it's like, this is this artist doing a live tweeting session for about 45 minutes to an hour, but they weren't doing it from their own channel. They were doing it from the profile of XXL or Complex or whomever. And so that's invaluable impressions for XXL or it's invaluable impressions for XXL or Complex, because it's like, oh, we got J. Cole or whomever. I'm just making up random names because I'm not saying J. Cole actually did this. But it's like, oh, we got J. Cole, or we got Wale, or we got these other, trending people tweeting on our behalf. This works for us. Well, that person is less likely to actually do that if they think that you think what they do sucks. So best way to be able to facilitate them continuing to work with us is just do away with constructive criticism when it comes to the music. But what ends up happening with that is stuff that's not good gets passed off as good.
Right.
And that's the problem that I have, is you're selling me on the idea that something is a classic, and then I actually believe you and go and listen to it, and it sucks.
Yeah, bro.
And I'm offended by that. Like, that offends my musical sensibilities. I remember last year, I was listening to Hip Hop Nation on Sirius XM, and they were just glazing the hell out of this dude Blast, saying that his album was a classic, an absolute classic. And so I get on Spotify, because if you're going to glaze it like that, I don't want to miss out. So let me go listen to it. And I like one song on the whole thing.
Of course.
Like one song on the whole. And look, it's no disrespect to him. I just didn't think it was that good. I didn't like it. And when you juxtapose it to the way that they were talking about it, calling it a class, to me, the word classic, words mean something to me. And for you to sit here in my face and sell me on the idea that something is a quote unquote classic, I take that seriously, because I come from a world where The Blueprint is a classic. And I come from a world where, like, Life After Death is a classic, and All Eyes on Me is a classic, and Stankonia is a classic. Like, in my world, those are classics. So when you tell me Blast is a classic,
you don't sound right.
And I go and listen to it, and I only like one song, it's just like, okay, well, this is where we are with this. So, there's that expression that a rising tide lifts all boats. I think that that's true when it comes to artistic mediums. If you uphold a higher standard, you are forcing artists to either capitulate to that standard or not make it. And I would rather we live in a world where there's a certain standard when it comes to quality of music. And if that standard can't be met, then you just can't survive in this ecosystem. And it is what it is. Everybody can't go. But right now, we've opened the floodgates and everybody's being let in because there's such a low standard when it comes to an interpretation of quality of music. So I agree with him 100%.
Yeah, and I think it's a byproduct. You know, this situation is just a byproduct of these corporations using these various independent media sources as part of their antennae, their tentacles of, again, paying off their investment. So whenever they invest in these shields, these industry plant, non-talent artists, they literally pay these websites, because where else are they going to make their money? Advertising.
Yeah, that's dead.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how do these places stay afloat if it isn't direct checks from these labels? So when you go onto a site now that's generated towards hip hop, for instance, you're going to see the same people on there all the time because they're paying for a slot. And so long as that they stay in the media and in rotation, they're going to stay on top of the algorithm and all of that good stuff. And so, because there's no reason I should see Lotto's name as much as I see it. She doesn't do anything. You know, Ice Spice, I shouldn't see her, you know, every week when we out here looking for topics. And it's absolutely nothing. And, you know, other things, Meg the Stallion, you know, it's just pointless articles. It's like, you know, I get it. It's a little clickbaitish. It's a little, I guess, algorithm play, you know, because everybody knows these people. Everybody wants to know what they're getting involved in. But at the same time, it's a situation of, why are you talking about them? And if they do release a song or something like that, I know about it because they have an article about it. And it's like, well, you're not talking about X, Y, or Z or whoever else down there, but you're talking about these people's music as if it's kind of good. And it's like, it's not. This is a paid slot. It's literally part of their budget for advertising. And so when you funnel that stuff in to these websites or these blog places or these reaction channels where they go, ooh, yeah. A quick block on TikTok, I will block the shard out of your behind. If I see you reacting to a song, it's just completely garbage. They're not saying anything. Woke up, went to the bathroom. Oh shit! They're in the top of the view. Oh, damn! You went to the bathroom. Damn. Like, what did he say? He didn't say anything. Block. I go to this page and block because I don't want to see that in my feed again. I don't want to see that person in my feed again. Why? They're not trustworthy. First of all, they're overzealous with their reactions. Second of all, it's like you're clearly getting paid to do this. I don't want to see anything that you're getting paid to do if this is the type of stuff you're going to put in my feed. So I block those guys instantly. It's part of advertising. It's part of you branding yourself now. It's paying for people to say that you're hot. It's so much of that. So who's being real? And how much does it pay to be real nowadays? So you have to be doing it for the love of the game. You can't be doing it for a lifestyle because you'll get blackballed out of everything. You're never going to get that exclusive interview with X, Y, or Z, or you're not going to be able to go backstage and do this, or whenever you're doing, you're not going to be able to invite, you know, you can't go to Coachella with a media pass. They're not going to mess with you. So people play ball. It's part of the politics and it's big money. So, you know, this guy, he can ask and he can request for these people to be more critical, but it's going to fall on deaf ears. Like, it has to be really somebody out there that doesn't give a damn. And they're just giving their honest takes and they're not looking for these checks. But these websites, these online magazines, these really big YouTube channels, these really big reaction channels, it's part of their check. And so they're not going to turn down, because if you shard on one artist over here from Interscope, there's a whole bunch of Interscope money you're going to miss out on later. So it's not even just that one artist you're going to miss out on. Interscope's not going to mess with you because you see what I'm saying? So it's bogus, man. So that's why there's really not much credibility to it. That's why I say I stick with independent people, regular, everyday people that's recommending me music. And then I'll say, okay, I'll listen to that. But anything from any of these outlets, I don't trust it. I have reason to believe it's more trash than good. So yeah, I don't even waste my time.
Yeah, and look, man, to any Blast fans out there, no disrespect to Blast. I'm not saying that the guy's not talented.
That's what you
I'm just
said.
saying, I'm just saying that last album that he put out last year, that is not a classic. Unless we are going to redefine what that word means, because we can't be throwing around words like that as if they're meaningless. Like, the word classic means something. Like, if some of the greatest hip hop albums ever made are considered classics, then that shouldn't be put into the same category, in my opinion. But yeah, it's funny too. It's interesting. This doesn't seem to have impacted the film industry as much, from what I can tell. I'll still read a movie review, and if the movie sucks, they'll rip the movie to shreds. So the constructivism still exists in the movie space, but it just seems to not be around in music. And I'm pretty sure anybody who's an advocate for this will say, well, music is interpretive, and it's it's subjective. It's not. Well, so are movies. Movies are interpretive and subjective. Like, art is, like, this stuff is art. It's all an entertainment medium. Like, there's no rubric on what constitutes a good movie or vice or lack thereof, just like there's no rubric on what constitutes a good song or a good musical album. Yet for whatever reason, music gets a pass for being bad, under the microscope that it's subjective and it's art and it's up for interpretation, as if movies don't operate along those same lines. They do. But when it comes to the movies, at least, if a movie sucks, they'll write that. I see it still. Like, there'll be a bad movie that'll come out and the reviews will be like, hey man, this movie's not good. So, when it comes to music in particular, more specifically hip hop, that seems to have eroded, because you want access to the artists. And so, it is what it is, but I'm not a fan of the dynamic, because I think it dilutes the overall quality. And I think it's just opening up the floodgates. It's very reminiscent. It gives me a very participation trophy feel. Like y'all, you showed up, and even though you got boat raced and blown out, we're gonna give you a ribbon or a participation trophy anyway, even though y'all team sucked and you got blown out. That's kind of what this feels like. Like, these people put out bad music and they get rewarded for it, not from the standpoint of having fans who are willing to listen to it, but having it critically lauded as if it's something that it's not. And that to me is diluting the quality of the music, in my opinion.
Yep. Agree. 1000%, bro.
So shouts out to this guy, Dijon. Probably not going to listen to your music, but I do enjoy your perspective on this one.
Yeah. I listened to like a few seconds of it just now. But, I might, it seems conceptual. So I might have to spend some time to listen to it, because it wasn't straightforward. It seemed like a lot was going on. So shout out to Dijon, man. Maybe you're the last of a dying breed, bro.
I'm going to come to you so that you can give me your impression of those. I'm gonna come to you so that you can give me your impression of those few seconds.
Yeah, man, it's a classic, bro. It's dope.
Moving right along, we are going to talk about friend of the channel, Kai Cenat. Recently, the streaming awards concluded. Kai Cenat won an award at the Streamer Awards. I think it was like Best Collaboration or something like that. And during his acceptance speech, he preached about the importance of, safeguarding. He preached about the importance of streamers in particular, paying attention to their mental health and making sure that they take care of it. And so, Kai is getting various flowers for expressing these sentiments. So this says Kai Cenat advises streamers to take care of mental health, says anime helped him find happiness. Kai Cenat is speaking out about mental health after taking a break from streaming while accepting the award for Best Streamed Collab at the 2025 Streamer Awards on Saturday, which was December the 6th. The 23-year-old had some words of wisdom. So I'm going to skip through the quotes because we're going to play the video. Another point in the evening. Okay, so that's not that important. Oh, and also congrats on your new documentary with. Okay, so that's more non-importance. So yeah, that was just somebody who was there trolling him, and that person is getting raked through the coals for trolling him. But here's Kai talking about the importance of mental health for streamers.
To say to you guys tonight is, I hope a lot of creators in here and everybody at home and the viewers and the streamers really take care of your mental health. I just noticed that recently I just been going through things in my head, and I was able to, turn to like anime, Death Note, Naruto, recently since I've been gone. And I just been able to, find happiness within that. But yeah, as for the word of collab, I want to preach to everybody, like within our community, us collabing is everything. You feel what I'm saying? So collaboration is everything. And I know this year has been very difficult on the fan bases, the communities, and of streaming in general. And as long as we don't tear each other apart and let that get in between us, we're gonna be just fine. So I appreciate y'all.
All right, so there's Mr. Cenat. I'm more of a DBZ guy myself, but to each their own. So what did you think about Mr. Cenat there talking about streamers and how they should take care of their mental health? He even said that he turned to anime as a way to help calm his inner turmoil, I guess.
Yeah, man, I agree, bro. It was whenever we was covering the Black Boy situation where he was saying that streaming is what harder than a 9 to 5. Was that his take? But
yeah,
it was that little back and forth.
Yeah,
and one of my arguments was, because his argument was like the mental health part of it, and my argument in agreement with some of that was, hey man, we don't know the long-term ramifications of these people being on these streams for that long, talking to all them people, doing all this stuff. And now they got these streamers doing more. They got to do live appearances. They got to do this. They got to do that. I mean, they're having streamer proms, streamer this, streamer. I was like, what? Now a streamer awards? They're turning these guys out. These guys were just dudes in the crib, just having a good time, laughing and talking to the chat, getting donations and playing video games. Now they've become celebrities. I don't think it's part of whoever pays them, because these guys belong to agencies as well. And now their agent is like, hey man, why don't you get out here and hey, why don't we have a streamers sleepover? Hey, why don't we have a streamers prom? It's like, man, what is going on? So these guys are doing so much stuff, bro. It's ridiculous. And it was already tough enough sitting in the house. Now they got these guys out here actually being celebrities. I'm sure some of them are really losing touch with reality right now. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them people get roped off for inappropriately talking to their fans. You know what I'm saying? That's a thing. And these guys need to really watch what they're doing in general, man, because they are the new celebrities. They're the new tabloids whenever something happening. Like, people are looking for crap with these dudes. And when you're in the world of being a celebrity, it's not like chilling, playing video games with your boys. And I think that's what a lot of these dudes come from. And I think the rise of their, success and all this other stuff that's being thrown at them, I don't think they were necessarily built for these things. I think they were just built to stream. And so once that life gets a hold of you and they're in all these circles, going to these events, doing all this stuff, they could probably lose it. Yeah. And so I'm not surprised that Kai probably had to take a break, because he's been doing a lot this year, man. He was literally everywhere. If there was another award show, he was there. He's not getting nominated, but BET had to pay him to be there, this had to be there. I'm sure he was at the Oscars and the Grammys. You know what I'm saying? This guy was literally everywhere. So yeah, man, you need a break. So I think that these guys that are actually out here on the streams and stuff, that's constantly like living that lifestyle, I think over time that there could be some way that they get burnt out, and they're probably going to need some help with all of that. There's too much going on. I think that's too much stimulation that these guys having. And right now it's still early in the process. So we need to see how these guys are when they're in their 30s, you know, to actually get a good freeze frame of what we are witnessing right now. But right now, I think that these dudes do need to focus on that. They probably won't. But yeah, man, much like anybody in the celebrity world, you need to focus on your mental health. So I agree with him, man. But what are your thoughts, man, on Kai Cenat accepting an award at the Streamer Awards and saying that, hey, man, us streamers out here, we need to focus on our mental health, bro? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can appreciate what he's saying. Growing up as a kid, I was into gaming, you know, and things like, you know, movies, TV shows, and things like that. These are some of the various buckets with which streamers and content creators capitalize upon in order to be able to make a name for themselves, most notably gaming. And growing up as a gamer, most of the people who I was friends with as kids were also gamers. And one thing that most gamers had in common when I was growing up is most of us were introverts.
Yeah.
Most of the people who grew up in our cohort who were into gaming were definitely more on the introverted side of the social spectrum, not so much on the extroverted side of the social spectrum. And one thing about introverts, and I can speak to this because I am one, too much social stimulation becomes overwhelming. After a while, you need to retreat into solitude so that you can recharge the battery. Like speaking as an introvert myself, that is a real thing. That's not made up. Being in certain social settings, it's sensory overload. Because you're by nature, you're often in your thoughts. And so being in those social settings, sometimes it doesn't really behoove you to be so much in your thoughts. So it creates a situation in which you have to learn, or rather teach yourself how to be able to turn that on and off, so that when you're in certain social settings, you can sort of turn on your performative side and just have that operate for you for long enough, that for as long as you need it to, right? But then when you're no longer there, you got to turn that off so that you can plug it back in for a recharge.
Yeah.
You know, one advantage that extroverted people have is that they can just be on all the time,
which is insane to me. I don't get it, bro. I need a break.
So like when you have to turn that on and off, it can be overwhelming, and it's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting. And a lot of these guys, like, you know, and I've said on various topics that we've covered on the channel, I believe streamers are the new celebrity. Like, I think the quintessential celebrities that we've always been able to understand as celebrity are slowly going by the wayside. So the movie star and the music star, and even to a lesser degree, the professional athlete, those individuals are sort of ceding some of that ground to these new age content creator stars. And a lot of these content creator stars are what? They're on Twitch, they're gaming, they're doing Fortnite, they're playing Borderlands, they're doing all of this other stuff. They're doing activities which are consistent with the activities of an introverted human. But you just so happen to be on in a spotlight doing it. So it's a weird juxtaposition, because I believe most of these individuals are introverted by nature, but they're always they're being introverted by nature within an extroverted context, if that makes sense. So because that's the situation that they're in, there's this constant like turning on and off of their performative side, and they're using so much of that aspect of themselves they're using so much of that aspect of themselves that there is a constant need for them to be able to mitigate how and when they turn it off, and how to be able to retreat to their various, safe places of solitude, so that they can replug the battery and get that recharge. And I think for a lot of them, well, not for a lot of them, but for him in particular, when he speaks on the need to protect, and take care of their mental health, I feel like that's the place where he's coming at it from. Because it's one thing to, when you're an actual performer, when you're an athlete, or you make music, or you do movies or things like that. Even a lot of those people are introverts too. But I feel like there's a lot more extroverted people naturally who are occupying those various spaces just by the nature of what it is that they do. But when it comes to the streaming stuff, when you're just doing the things that you did as a kid, playing PlayStation all the time, Xbox, and doing all these various things, they're performing introverted activities in an extroverted fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And so it creates this interesting tug and pull where they have to learn how to mitigate and create a balance so that they can safeguard against their own mental well-being. So I think that what he's saying is 100% true, if for no other reason than the fact that a lot of these individuals are introverts by nature. And introverts do need to be able to get the hell out of the way every once in a while, so that they can turn the performative aspect of themselves off and plug it in to recharge it, because it's not something that comes naturally for them. It's something that they need a battery pack in order to be able to manage, especially for prolonged periods of time. So I agree with what he's saying, and I hope more of them are actually paying attention to this, because there is the propensity for a tremendous burnout if you don't listen to that inner voice that's telling you that you need to take a step back.
Yeah, I hear that. And they're also streaming all the time. And their life is basically a reality TV show. And they've taken it from playing video games to just sitting there.
Yeah.
And having a late night talk show. Now Kevin Gates done came through. Now we got to interview Kevin Gates, and Kevin Hart's here now. We got to interview Kevin Hart. Now I got to put on an act and tap dance with Kevin Hart. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. What the industry, what they have done with these young men is they took regular, like I said, regular. I mean, I can only imagine being a jit right now, bro. It's so live for them. It was this video floating around where this kid was saying, he was excited. He was on the phone talking to somebody. He said, he's got his Fortnite going. His mom just made pizza rolls. You know what I'm saying? Some girl at school, like, he got some attention from the girl at school that day. Like, he was like, life is awesome. Like, life is the best. These kids go to school. They come home. They play Fortnite. They play video games all day. Then they cut on their favorite stream. So it's no TGIF for them. This is their TGIF every night. And it's always a party in the stream, according to them. So they're just living it up. Then they love this whole environment. They love this whole lifestyle with all these young people. So with Kai and them, it went from just hanging out with the boys playing video games and laughing and talking about dumb stuff to, like I said, them being late night talk show hosts, doing weird challenges like they're in some Mr. Beast situation. They're pulling up at this live game. They're playing in half-court basketball all-star situations. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're literally all over the place. They weren't trained for this. They weren't. This is, so the aspect of view of whether these guys are introverted or extroverted or on some type of cusp or spectrum, nevertheless, these are young dudes getting thrust into these high-end celebrity things, because guess what? Other types of celebrities don't pay their bills no more. They don't cut it. These young people like these guys. And so these companies and corporations are saying, what can we do to get Kai Cenat? We're definitely going to be at the top of the algorithm if we get him to do this. So they do it. He accepts it because it's a check, and they just keep going and keep going. And yeah, that's where the burnout is coming in at. So they went from having a great time to just streaming and making money to this.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, this stuff going on now with DDG and DDG in my feed every week about something. And it's not about the baby and that girl. It's always something else because he out here in these streets just, making news. So all of these streamer dudes, I wouldn't want that. Are we doing a form of stream? Yeah, bro, we ain't doing that. I know I ain't damn sure doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's too much for me, man. Like I'm just kicking it right here. With everybody here at the Conscious Approach. But that corporate side, because you were chasing a check and something maybe, that's what I'm saying. I think these young dudes didn't know what they were getting themselves into. Kai Cenat is in deep. You know what I'm saying? He's in deep right now. So he probably did need a little sabbatical. But I think a lot of these other guys do too, because eventually they're going to keep doing whatever they're doing until they crash out. Not because it was something bad. It was just they burnt out and or picking up a habit they don't need to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can get wild out there. So I think they need to be safe. I don't think it's healthy anymore. I thought it was a cool little hustle for them. And now I think they've just become no different than reality TV stars, which to me is dangerous.
It's the exact same thing. No, they're the new celebrities. Like that's why I forget what the topic was, but I basically said streamers are a part of the entertainment industry to me. Like they're a part of the apparatus that is the entertainment industry. Like if I'm going to put professional athletes, actors and actresses, and musicians into this bucket of the entertainment industry, I also at this point believe streamers belong in that too. The top end ones, the high end ones, certainly, and he's certainly one of those. So like I believe that they now occupy that unique space, certainly within westernized culture, of being a part of the entertainment industry. And when you're a part of the entertainment industry, you're subjected to the same perils of the entertainment industry. So the things that can have the same things that can have an actor go sideways can now have these people go sideways. And the same thing that can have a musician go sideways are the same things that can have these people go sideways, because they're in the same arena. So it's just interesting to see it play out in real time, because for all intents and purposes, these people are just regular, introverted, in many cases nerds, who are doing the same. They're doing the same stuff that we were doing growing up, playing Mortal Kombat and all of this other stuff. I'm not counting people like Akademiks because he's a legit content creator. But people like him and these other streamers who put on a headset, like they made their name off of doing the same stuff that they did growing up as a kid, putting on a headset and playing PlayStation or Xbox or something. So these are untrained celebrities who are introverts by nature, and they are navigating the world of being a celebrity. And so it comes with a unique set of challenges and circumstances. And I can just speak for myself being now, I'm not saying every streamer is an introvert. I'm pretty sure there's a good amount of them who are extroverts. But trust me, if we were to poll this informally, the majority of these individuals are introverts by nature. That's why their claim to fame is online playing video games and streaming stuff. That's the kind of activity that an introvert indulges in. Like, make no mistake about that. That's not a coincidence. So, I know that if I need to recharge the battery, they certainly need to recharge it, because I'm not on 24/7 the way they are. But I know that whenever I like, a couple of months ago, I had to take a work trip up to Virginia. I had to give 2 presentations. And after those 2 presentations, I needed like the rest of the night to myself in my hotel room, because I was just done. Like, having to sit there and talk for an hour plus in front of a room full of people and have to turn that aspect of myself on so that I can socialize and rub elbows and do all of this stuff and have chit chat and superficial conversation. That stuff takes
oh man,
doing that takes energy. That is mentally exhausting. And if you are not naturally inclined to that kind of activity, you need to Like, make it happen for yourself. And when the battery runs low, you got to plug it in for a recharge. And I think that need for a recharge manifests itself in a need to be able to maintain an adherence to having a healthy mental health status. So I think what he's saying is unequivocally true, and I hope that more of them are taking heed of that.
Yeah, I hope so, man. But you know, a lot of these dudes sign contracts, bro.
Yeah.
And just like I said before, man, like, you know, I don't think I said it on. Maybe I probably did, but you know, because I seen videos too where these companies, whoever do the hiring or whatever, they put streamers on like they put on a rapper.
It's the same. They're signing deals.
They're signing deals.
It's like you said, bro. They have agents, so they're now being signed by talent. That's why I call them celebrities. They're in the entertainment industry. They have talent. They have agents, and they sign contracts. They get deals. Like Kai Cenat wasn't on ESPN First Take because, like that was brokered because Kai Cenat's agent got him on ESPN. Correct. Right? So they are the new celebrities. You know, it's just that simple. They occupy the same space.
Yeah, wow, man. And, you know, I know there's some good young men that got caught up in that. So y'all be safe out there, man. And yeah, words of the wise, man. Y'all need to be able to recharge. Now, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant would tell Kai Cenat that he's broken. Okay. That's why he's watching anime alone. But listen, man. Whatever it takes for you to get back to homeostasis, because for him, man, him watching Death Note and all that other stuff made him feel like little Kai Cenat again. So yeah, man, maybe you got to get back to your roots, bro, because being out here in front of everybody's face, shaking all these hands, even if you're an extrovert, these guys are getting overworked. This year, these guys have been going into overdrive. I see him everywhere. So yeah, man, take a break, take some time to yourself. And even if you ain't streaming, man, just like JV Wynn said, bro, like if you find yourself in these situations where you overexert yourself, bro, it's nothing wrong with getting a little bit of time back to yourself so you can recharge, man, because that's one thing that people are made to feel guilty about is for taking some time to themselves to get right. Not everybody has to do that, but the people that do need to do that need to do that. So but yeah, man, I agree with this his take here, man. They need to look into more self-help stuff.
Yeah, shout out to Kai Cenat, man. He's a friend of the channel, you know. Kai Cenat's a friend of the channel for sure, man. I don't wish no ill will upon the guy, but as you said, we are going to see the societal ramifications of these various new forms of media and entertainment as they continue to age. So we're going to see what happens when streamers turn 40, 50, 60 years old and whatnot.
Hilarious.
All right, man. And speaking of a need for a recharge, we have Matt Barnes here, one half of All the Smoke. Not too long ago, we discussed Matt Barnes. No, we didn't actually talk about that on the channel, but we each are aware about it, and we read about it and talked about it off stream. This guy who forked over 60 racks to some woman for what? Nothing was even going on. It doesn't make sense, and he had to come out. He had to come out and clear the air and explain that nothing happened, and he's being extorted, and he's seeking legal action. And you know, the rumors that you heard about me aren't true. Don't believe everything you read. I've been extorted. I did send this person money because I just wanted to keep it quiet. Blah 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 blah. You know, Matt Barnes has been having a rough couple of months here, in my opinion. And so now he's unmuted once again because apparently there's something going around the interwebs saying that it wasn't even an actual real woman who was trying to extract him for resources, that it was actually an AI model. And so now he's unmuting to say it was not an AI model who was doing this, and y'all need to stop believing everything that you read.
Of course.
So this says Matt Barnes addresses rumor that AI model scammed him out of $61K. Lately, rumors that an AI-generated model scammed Matt Barnes out of thousands of dollars and that he's now suing have been floating around online. According to him, however, this couldn't be further from the truth. The former NBA player hopped on Instagram recently to set the record straight. He also made sure to call out those responsible for spreading the rumor. Barnes went on to drag bottom of the barrel ass MFers for spreading this misinformation and to note that he's currently working on healing his family. His ex-fiancee, Ananza Sims, called off their engagement after publicly accusing him of cheating on her. During an appearance on the All the Smoke podcast earlier this year, he opened up about the situation, admitting that he was in the wrong. Through my actions, I literally just lost my family. I wasn't there emotionally. I wasn't empathetic. He explained at the time, I wasn't willing to share those emotions. Sims was quick to respond, making it clear that she didn't appreciate his take. If you're going to talk publicly about our personal business, tell the whole story. Don't post half truths about me and our past relationship to gain sympathy from the masses. I'm in the trenches doing the hard work, making sure that all of our kids are okay. You've made no effort to emotionally support all of our children through this traumatic transition you caused, but you're willing to be vulnerable for strangers on the gram for profit. Please keep my name out of your mouth.
Hilarious,
A
man.
scathing review from his now ex-fiance. So here's Matt Barnes unmuting to say, don't believe everything you read and stop listening to all the rumors. There was no AI model.
2025 has been a crazy year, man. When I look back on this year in 10 to 15 years, it's going to be like, damn. From my personal life being flipped upside down because of me, but at the same time, like really starting to take off on all fronts in business. Kids are healthy. I had to hit rock bottom to really, man, wake the fuck up. So there's been a lot of negatives and a lot of positives from 2025. But I say all that to say is I've sat back dealing with personal, real family healing and personal healing and family healing and making sure my kids are good and just trying to get my life back in order while I've sat back and watched the internet lie about me the whole year lie, from me being gay to me talking about an abortion to me telling some girl not to do a reality show and then I get back from Dubai. Shout out Steve Harvey out there at his foundation weekend in F1, and I get back and I see all of a sudden I'm suing an AI model, or I got played by an AI model. And all these little bottom feeding blogs pick it up. Shout out to the ones that are real and know the bullshit from the bullshit, or at least check. Some of you bottom of the barrel ass motherfuckers keep running the same garbage, but you guys believe that I got played by an AI model and I'm suing them? Where the fuck did you guys get this from? For real. Like, seriously. But then again, you see someone like Gilbert, and I had a conversation with Gilbert. He addressed the bullshit, and it kind of was, it from there it caught fire. And I told him, bro, like, after all we've been through, bro, like, tap in with me and see if it's real. And he said he apologized. He didn't know it was that deep, but someone I'm close with addresses the lie and it catches fire. Y'all can't believe everything you motherfucking hear. Like I said, I've been dealing with some real shit while y'all been lying. But anyway, you know what they say, man. When the hate don't work, they gotta start lying. Y'all motherfuckers don't have to believe them. Trust me, you don't. Stay blessed.
I can't stand this dude.
2026 be coming.
Hey, you think when he said that he really felt like he was dropping jewels?
You know he did. That's why he's so corny, bro.
When the hate don't work, they gotta start telling lies.
Come on, bro. He thought he thought he dropped the bar right there. I'm not buying that. Yeah. Listen,
Well,
bro.
go
If
ahead.
I'm not supposed to believe the stuff that I hear, I ain't believing what you say. This guy's out of his mind. Why does all of these rumors seem to find you, Matt Barnes? They don't find nobody else. it's been a hell of a 2025 from this to that. It's like, why does everybody barking up your tree with these allegations? At some point, bruh, you know what I'm saying? From all that smoke, there must be a fire. Because I'm not buying this, bruh. Now I did see the video. I did see the video where he was confessing that he got extorted for 60 racks. Again, that story doesn't make any sense at all. All right. But when I heard that, you know, the streets was saying that it was from an AI bot and he's trying to sue the company, I just thought that was hilarious, whether it was true or not. Okay, Matt Barnes, you have become a caricature of a person. So you're just here from my internet laughing. You know, you're mean to me as a person. You have been in so much garbage. You said it's been a rough, you know, few months or whatever. It's been a rough decade for him. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, this stuff started since COVID, since he started his real online persona career thing. Like, he's been in the tabloids every year since about something. So, you know, I'm not surprised anymore. He really needs to be on a reality TV show, you know what I'm saying, with some housewives or something, because he loves the drama. He said he's one of the most drama-filled men I've ever seen, bro. Like, he's at the top of the list. And I'm not exaggerating. His name's in circulating every other month for the last few years or something. You know, when he was playing ball, man, I ain't no issues with the man. You know, I thought it was a little lame what he tried to do to Kobe. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I didn't like him.
Yeah, I was like, bro, what you trying to do, bro? And Kobe being the real one that he is, bro, he didn't care about none of that. You know what I'm saying? Because Matt Barnes, listen, bro, and I know you I don't know if you do have trepidations with the word corny or not, but he is a corny dude. This is a corny guy, bro. Everything that they're saying Russell Wilson is, all right, this guy's corny. This guy's lame. Because, first of all, you've got to be lame to get extorted for 60 racks in the first place. At least these guys, at least Shannon Sharpe, when he was paying 60 racks to that girl, all right, he got at least the donkey puncher or something. This man, you didn't get anything, allegedly. All right? So you were just paying $60K for her to keep quiet about something that didn't happen? Matt Barnes, give it a rest, bro. So honestly, bro, whenever I see him pop up in my feed, I get a good chuckle out of it. This story was no exception. And his little explanation right here, all right, was no different, man. So sorry, Matt Barnes. 1,000 lashes yet again, bro. So what are your thoughts, man, on Matt Barnes out here trying to expose all the people lying on him, saying that, hey, I did get extorted for 60K, but it wasn't from an AI bot, you crazy people. What are your thoughts, man?
First of all, that is the lyric that he stole from Fabolous off of the Young OG project with French Montana, the ball drop.
Of course.
Fabolous said it. No, actually, it was French Montana who said it. But just, leave it up to the actual artist, man, instead of biting these lyrics. That's the first thing. Second of all, I don't really have too much to add on top of what you just said. The thing that I found most humorous about this is he really took offense to the idea that people believe that there was an AI model that was extorting him, as if that's the most fantastical part. You know what I'm saying? Like, he really took offense. He really took offense to people thinking that the AI model angle is real, as if that's the most egregious. As if that's the most egregious part of this whole thing. Not the fact that you actually gave somebody you've never seen or met $60,000. Like, that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is that people think it's an AI model.
God damn, bro. This shit crazy, bro.
Hey, listen, man. I mean, he could, and he's one of these guys who makes sure that everybody knows that he's a tough guy.
Yeah, bro. Like, come on, give it a rest, man.
talking about tapping in with me. You know, that's why him and Steven Jackson get along so well.
Yeah, man, they best of buds, bro.
Yeah, Steven Jackson will be the first person 40 plus going on 50 talking about somebody need to check in when they land land in a city. And you know, these guys are two peas in a pod, bro. Like, you know, it's funny that he would be offended that people believe there's an AI model when it's like, bro, Matt Barnes, just sit down and ask yourself,
come on, bro.
If you've already acknowledged that you've given that much money to a woman you never met, never had a sexual relationship with, never even shared a physical space with, is it that much more of a stretch to believe that maybe there's an AI model present? Like even if that isn't true, that's not the most egregious part of this story. The most egregious part of this story is you forking over this cash like that. That's the most egregious part.
Basically, no reason.
Yeah. So if I already know you did this and you've already confirmed that it's true, it came from your own mouth, you already said this happened, then why is it that much more of a stretch for somebody to take the leap to say, oh, you're getting extorted by an AI model? Who cares? Like, the greatest infraction in this whole scenario is what you did in the first place by giving this money up to somebody that you, why? Like, you were not in the same space as her. You never met her. You never had a sexual relationship with her. What were you hiding?
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. It's a weird story that needs to be turned into a movie. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know, man. He needs to get off his soapbox. He's mad at the wrong thing.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. You're mad. So the people who were clowning you for being extorted in the first place, that was okay. But now you're mad because people are saying it was an AI model. Like,
they're taking it too far now.
Yeah, now it's gone. Now it's beyond the pale. Now. So I don't know, man. Hopefully all the smoke checks are enough to cover all of these expenses because he's going to need them, and he's definitely going to need them. You know, and I don't want to get into nobody's personal business, but I hope he's got it ready because that child support is also going to be quite expensive. So if you're trying to manage paying legal fees for this lawsuit and fighting the internet because they believe it was an AI bot, and the child support you're going to be paying out to this woman who's no longer going to get married to you, I hope that those checks are quite hefty, sir, because you're going to need them.
Yeah, man. This is just a classic situation. And also to speak on people faking a funk. Of all people, why is Matt Barnes trying to get married? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, right.
You know you shouldn't be getting married, bro. Like, you still doing this DM slide stuff, and his excuse about the other thing is that, oh, we broke up. It's like, come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me a break. Y'all probably had a fight. You know what I'm saying? You know y'all ain't break up. But again, man, Matt Barnes, he's good for this. I don't wish for him to do this. I go about my business. I laugh at the man and I just move on. And then sure enough, again, he pops up in my feed because he done did something else stupid. So this, I could not believe he even addressed this. Just let things go, bro. But he love the attention, bro. He love it. Yeah, man. That's the part about him that's weird. He love the TMZ angle that he gets himself into. That's what I'm saying. He's a drama-filled man. And so since he's such a drama-filled man, this won't be the last that we've heard of Matt Barnes, maybe even on this topic, but for sure, just in general, because he cannot help himself. So he love the limelight and he love to be messy, man. So I'll be right here to laugh at him again, bro, because most likely he's going to make me laugh, bro. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he mad at the wrong thing, He mad at the wrong thing. He need to be mad at himself. And he probably is frustrated with himself, I hope. But, at this point, the damage is already done. So people, talk, spreading rumors about an AI model and all of that. The most embarrassing part of this entire thing is what he initially did in the first place. Like,
exactly.
That's crazy to me. Like, I ain't never heard of nothing like that before, where you just paying somebody who's saying, I'm going to tell her, as if she has something to tell her. She ain't got nothing to tell your woman. Y'all ain't did nothing. So I don't get it. It's weird.
It's weird. Very good. Oh, man. No shots out for that one, man.
No, not at all. We just gonna move on because that's just dumb.
Sheesh.
Moving right along to DJ Akademiks. DJ Akademiks is in a war of words with Maino. Maino. I don't think anyone under the age of 30 probably knows who Maino is. Hell, I'm pretty sure people over the age of 30 probably barely know who Maino is.
I barely know who the hell.
Right. I think you have to be really into like rap and hip hop, specifically New York rap, and probably around our age to even know who this guy is or that he even exists. But he's in a bit of a war of words with DJ Akademiks because DJ Akademiks started things off by calling out the way Maino kind of dresses as an older person, and Maino took exception to that, saying, how dare you as a content creator, oh no, this ain't the right one, call us out for the way that we dress. And then, DJ Akademiks retorted with talking about, older hip hop guys who don't act their age. So we'll go ahead and try to set the stage real quick. So this says DJ Akademiks exposes Maino's worst outfits as beef intensifies. DJ Akademiks went on a fiery rant in response to Maino labeling him lame during an episode of the Let's Rap About It podcast. Reacting to the comments on one of his live streams, Ak compared himself to several legends of other industries while arguing that he changed the media landscape. You couldn't win a rap battle. Don't come over here and think you could win a battle on these microphones where we're talking and we're trading ideas with me. I keep telling you, I'm Jay-Z, Kareem, Wilt, Michael Jordan, and Tom Brady rolled up in one. You can't F with me. Come on, stop playing. From there, Ak argued that he never tried rapping when his media career wasn't doing so well, but complained that Maino has decided to step into his lane. I helped create this S. I'm one of the reasons radio is dead. I did that. Akademiks also addressed Maino's attempt to lecture him on fashion by resurfacing some of the rapper's most polarizing outfits. You're not giving me a fashion lesson, he remarked while showing multiple different pictures. This is the drip I'm supposed to take. He ended by reiterating that he's just trolling Maino and doesn't want a serious beef between them. As for his comments on the Let's Rap About It podcast, Maino used the platform to defend Faboulous' fashion choices after Akademiks made fun of him for rocking headbands. Alongside Jim Jones, Fabolous, and Dave East, Maino said, yo, Akademiks, check this out. I know you're not talking. You got the audacity to be speaking on N-words and what N-words is wearing. You talking about the proximity between what N-words is wearing and their age. From there, he continued, you're a journalist and this is your opinion. So let me give you my opinion on you. I feel like you built like a dyke, a wet bag of laundry. I feel like you're built like a jar of relish. You know what they call that, boy? They call Akademiks chicken for chicken nugget. Stop playing with me, N-word. I'm a big dick dictator. Stop playing with me.
Wow.
Oh man, these individuals have very high opinions of themselves. Akademiks thinks very highly of his level of influence, and Maino clearly thinks very highly of, I don't know what, but he thinks highly of himself. So here's some videos. So we try to set the stage here. So here's Akademiks responding to Maino responding to him. So this is the interesting part of the conversation that we are going to comment on.
Akademiks, check this out. Akademiks, I know you're not talking.
Oh man,
you got the audacity to be speaking on niggas and what niggas is wearing. Oh, you talking about what niggas is wearing? You talking about the proximity between what niggas is wearing and their age?
Right there, chat. That senior citizen comment. Yo, chat, let me tell you this. I keep telling y'all the reason why I'm undefeated online, because I'm gonna figure out what really triggers y'all niggas. When I said these niggas, yo, let me pull up all their ages. This is what hurts them. Look right here, Maino H. Maino is 52 years old, y'all. That shit is hurting. Okay, I got you, bro. Jim Jones H, 49. Fabolous with the headband H. He's 48. By the way, we're all age, and I'm not age shaming. I was just pointing out y'all podcast is aimed for the kids. Y'all not giving grown man knowledge. Let's keep it a bean. I'm watching, like I told you, I ran into Jim Jones. He was acting like he was a YN. He wasn't acting like, yo, bro, I'm an older niggas in this industry. I've been around since before you moved to the United States. That's a fact. Jim Jones has been around before I moved to the United States. Jim Jones is moving around like he's ready to crash out and go to jail for life. Yes, we're going to clown you. Yes, we're going to say you have been around for decades. You're 50 plus and you're mirroring the actions of a 20-year-old. I'm sorry, not only in dress, but in actions, in words, vernacular. You're not giving us no substance. Yes, we're looking at you. It's not like y'all coming like Cam and Mace. Y'all just coming like y'all are the toughest of the YNs, but y'all are the O-heads.
Your fruit jams in the chat.
All right, so here's the thing with this. The link to this video will be in the description of this video, because if this is anything like the last time that we tried to use Akademiks for content, this is going to get flagged. So I'll probably have to edit this out of the individual video upload, but you can click the link in the description of this video to see what we just looked at with Akademiks going off on Maino specifically, basically critiquing the fact that he doesn't act his own age, trying to transition into the podcast space. So what do you make of this whole scenario? I mean, Akademiks' delivery was typical Akademiks delivery, but he was saying some stuff in there when he was talking about these guys and the way that they approach their content creation.
I agree with Akademiks from the context of the not so much of what they're wearing, but that's a part of it. My issue is more of the attitude that they carry, of the fact that they're acting like they're YNs, like they're willing to crash out right now, like they'll whoop you right now, or they'll get their mans to get you, put bands on your head or whatever these guys are doing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why are you still on that? I didn't know, Maino was 50. You know what I'm saying? 52 years old, man.
Well, that guy's been around for a long time, man.
I mean, yeah, I know, but still 52. And it's just like, I didn't think he was 52 of how he acts. You see what I'm saying? Like, but Rick Ross is in his 50s. Rick Ross act like you know what I'm saying? Like, these dudes ain't grown up at all.
Yeah.
Adult children at large. And that's how they're behaving. And so, I don't think young people so much watch them, but what they're doing is, to me, setting up bad examples of how to conduct yourself at an age. Now, again, if you're looking at these guys, if you're already up in your 40s or late 30s or whatever, and you're looking up to Maino and Fabolous, you got issues already. You got some issues that Cheyenne Bryant can't solve. All right. So, but at the same time, man, I think what it does is it doesn't help. It doesn't help us because these guys are supposed to be elders. They're at the elder stage. And so, yeah, his point, Akademiks' point is you guys should be more or less in the realm of, giving knowledge and giving game and giving back instead of, telling me about how you pulled up in a Rolls Royce or a Bugatti or, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all still in that flex and stunting era? Like, what's going on? Have you not outgrown that? And the answer is no. So since the answer is no, why should I listen to anything else you say? Your worldviews are completely skewed. And so you shouldn't listen to somebody like that that's conducting and carrying himself like he's 25 when he's actually 52. So I agree with Akademiks right there. Now, with his stuff and him talking about how he's Michael Jordan, and I was like, listen,
Yeah, he's taking it a little too far.
come on,
Yeah.
bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, these guys make it this far because they do have these delusions of grandeur. So it's what pushes them and motivates them and wakes them up in the morning. But I don't agree with that. So I don't agree with him, at least. So yeah, all in all, yeah, Maino. I didn't know Fabolous was that old. I thought he was probably a little bit closer to our age. But yeah, man, Fabolous is pushing 50 himself, man. So
yeah.
But rappers are the new, I mean, I don't know what to make of these guys, but they never grow up. These industry rap dudes, they never grow up. So at some point, you got to stop being surprised by this. But what are your thoughts, man, on DJ Akademiks calling out Fabolous, Maino and Jim Jones for being up there in their 50s, damn near, or over 50, and still acting like young YNs, man? What are your thoughts, bro?
So I think multiple things can be true. First, when he's talking, like, so the initial situation that sparked this back and forth between the two of them was Akademiks commenting on like the way that they dress and how it's like weird given their age and all of that kind of stuff. And Maino took exception and blah 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 blah. So to address that particular point specifically, you can look up, do a Google search on like Steven Tyler, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Bono. You can look up like how these guys dress now. These are all old rock guys. Like these guys are like 2 generations older than Maino, Jim Jones, and all of them, albeit they are in a different genre. But these are like old rock stars, and they still dress like they're 25-year-old rock stars, like to this day. But no one really looks at that as odd, because there isn't this undercurrent of the way an individual is supposed to age and dress when you've done rock and roll. But there seems to be this undercurrent of the way that one is supposed to dress when you age as a rapper. And I think the reason why that is because, and I've said this before, in my opinion, rap music specifically, or just hip hop in general, is the most age-obsessed, ageist genre of music there is, where there are stipulations on the way you're supposed to behave and dress based upon how old you are. You don't see any of these rules, written or unwritten, with any of these other genres. Like, I don't hear anybody saying Steven Tyler shouldn't be dressing like that, he's 80, or Mick Jagger shouldn't be dressing like that, he's 70 or 80, or however old he is, or any of these other people, David Bowie, Bono, any of these other people. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily right or wrong, but there is something to that. I think hip hop is, unfortunately, a very ageist genre, where once you reach a certain age, it's unbecoming of you to continue to participate. So like once you hit 35 or 40, it's like you become too old to do it and they want to kick you out. And so a lot of these rappers, as they get older, they don't even really understand the concept of getting older and maturing, because in their mind, they believe they're supposed to continue to dress and behave and otherwise acquiesce to the way that younger generations do it, because implicitly it's kind of a part of the ecosystem that you're actually not allowed to age and mature if you're a hip hop person. Now, I think that that's a problem. I think that that's a serious problem, because in the grand scheme of things, juxtaposed to other genres, hip hop is relatively new. It's only been around at this point for like, what, 40 years, 50 years? When you compare that to other genres, it's still very young. So hip hop should be given the same grace that these other genres receive, of aging in the way that it's meant to age. in terms of it shouldn't be weird if Maino or Fabolous are dressed that way. If that is a part of hip hop style and hip hop is granted the grace of aging just like every other genre is, then they're just going to age and continue to dress that same way because they're a part of the fabric of hip hop. It just is what it is. But there's this weird ages aspect to that particular culture where it just becomes unbecoming of you to continue to be a part of it once you've reached a certain age. And I don't see that happening with other genres. And I do think it's a problem because what I think it leads to is what he's saying, which I agree with him and you. I think that that leads in part to these guys not understanding that there comes a time and a place for you to actually become an adult.
Yeah.
Like you can't continue, because I agree with you. Jim Jones still acts like a YN. The guy's 45, 50 plus, and he's acting like it's still the early 2000s, and he's carrying the blick and he's looking to off somebody.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like, bro, you're not living like this anymore. Like, why are you still carrying on this persona as if you're still living like this? Like, it's a twofold issue in which it is incumbent upon him as an adult to understand the wherewithal of gaining some maturity about yourself. So I would say most of it is personal responsibility on their part. But I do think that to a lesser degree, some of it also is hip hop culture's refusal as an environment overall to age gracefully. Like hip hop as a culture doesn't want to age gracefully. It doesn't want to. It refuses to. Like they're not making age appropriate music, as you like to point out a lot. You know what I'm saying? They still talk the same. They behave in the same way. They're still making the same dysfunctional decisions. Part of that is because to a certain degree, there's a tapestry woven into the very fabric of the music, which stipulates you have to continue to conform to those behavioral sets if you want to continue to be a part of that culture.
Yep.
Because being a part of this culture, if you want to stay here, you have to continue to be a juvenile, because that's what hip hop praises essentially, is juvenile and delinquent behavior, degeneracy. Other forms of music have allowed its participants to age gracefully. And those other genres of music have allowed themselves to age gracefully. Hip hop seems to be the only one that's stunting its growth in that department, where they just don't want to let people get older. You just are not allowed to get older if you're a rapper. You can't do it. And if you do want to get older, you need to stop rapping and go do something else. And so that begets the lack of age appropriate music, and that begets these dudes still acting like this, even though they're 45, 50. It's weird. So I think multiple things are true at the same time. I think it's the overall ecosystem of this culture. It's a very toxic, counterproductive, juvenile culture.
Yeah.
And it has ceased to be anything other than that my entire life. And so what you're seeing is these dudes get as old as them and still talk like that.
It's crazy.
It's the weirdest thing in the world. So where I will somewhat come to their defense is like when it comes to like dressing, like these rock stars are 70, 80 years old and they still dress the same way. No one's giving them flack for that because rock and roll is allowed to age with grace. So I feel like rappers should also, from that particular standpoint, be allowed to age with grace. There's nothing wrong with that. And if the hip hop form of aging means they're dressing like that, then it is what it is. That's what hip hop culture is when it comes to fashion. But when it comes to general behavior, they are definitely a product of their environment, because the environment of hip hop stipulates that you remain a child. And it's weird. It's weird. It's weird childlike energy, but that's what we got going on with this stuff. So unless we're able to curate an environment that's more conducive to allowing this genre to age with a little more grace, you're going to continue to see this. And bro, I told you before, I forget what we was talking about, but you're going to start seeing a lot of this stuff play out in real time, where you're going to have these dudes 60, 70 plus still talking like this. And it's going to seem just as weird then as it does now. It's just weird. But I mean, this is It's music for kids. It's a culture which is hyper obsessed with youth and appealing to kids more than any other culture. So why wouldn't its requisite participants, despite the fact that they are advancing in age themselves, continue to try to conform to that standard?
I agree. And I think it's more because I agree with that aspect of it. But the clothes part, to address that, because I didn't spend much time on that, because my thing was more or less on how they behave.
Right. Which is the most important part. That's the most important part.
Yeah, and I kind of don't look the clothes thing. I really feel as though, you know, you're a product of how you grew up, kind of situation. So you're not gonna deviate too far off of that. So there are more mature ways to dress like a hip hop guy, and I think Fabolous does that. He just had a headband on, and you know, Akademiks wanted to make fun of that, but you know, it's whatever.
Right.
But you know, I think that the dress part is a teach their own, unless they're out here really sagging pants and being a goofball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if you're wearing something else, you know, Maino, shirt open, chest hair, I mean, y'all don't say nothing to the Dominicans when they walk in a place like that. So let Maino walk around with his chest out. So if that's how he feels about life. But so the dress, I don't care about that. But the behavior, the lyrics, I care about that. I care about that. And I agree with you from the aspect of culturally that has what hip hop has become. And I also think that's just a byproduct of the label interests that were interested in curating these sounds, these albums, these vibes that has created this atmosphere of, as you mentioned, juvenile behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, everything has to be a club anthem. Everything's got to be a club banger. You know, everything has to be oriented towards, you know, getting drunk, taking recreationals, having premarital salacious, debaucherous intercourse. All right, now that Young Thug's in the picture, you know what I'm saying? He's got people cross-dressing and doing other things. So there's so much stuff that has been pumped into the community via label interest, and the byproduct of it are the people that succeeded in that realm have the residue all over them, like the Jim Joneses, like the Fabolouses, even though Fabolous is really an out the way kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't really put him in the same category. Jim Jones, definitely.
Jim Jones for sure. Maino for sure.
Yeah.
I never understood the Maino stuff, like literally ever. Like when he was coming out and he was doing all his stuff, I'm like, okay, who is this guy? Oh, he's this. He's the bully of New York. He's okay. Well, where's his bars? Because he ain't got none. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, there's not one. I can name one Troy Ave song that I would listen to. I can't name one Maino song. And I think Troy Ave is trash. So I brought that up as a reference point. There's not one Maino song I'll ever listen to. So I listen to French Montana before I listen to this guy. So I don't know what his thing is, man. But he's sitting there with, you know, Dave East and them. You know, shout out to Dave East, I guess. But yeah, Jim Jones, absolute clown. Maino has been, you know, clown behavior his entire career. I don't know what he does besides internet beef and troll. So this is right up his alley. I don't think Akademiks really do want to really keep going back and forth with this man, because this is what Maino lives for, because he's got nothing else. But I think that juvenile behavior is more or less a product of interest creating this field that everybody has been populating. And I do want to see age appropriate music. I do want to see these older rappers act their age. Because as he mentioned, you know, because Cameron's hip hop, he dressed hip hop, but you know what I'm saying? He, at the same time, man, he out the way. you know, he'll get into some internet rigmarole, but it's because I'm a grown ass man and I feel like you disrespected me kind of rigmarole.
Yeah.
It's not out here like I'm blasting at ops, don't come around me type stuff. Like he's not on that like Jim Jones is. So all in all, yeah, man, I feel like that behavior needs to be critiqued. It needs to be called out and at least discussions had, so we don't sit around and let the Mainos and Jim Jones run around with impunity. These guys do need to reach some level of scrutiny. And because, you know, although Mick Jagger and them running around up there, they're not held up as the pinnacles of and the icons of the entire community. You know, they're relegated and isolated as freaked out rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, they're Barack Obamas and everything else. You know what I'm saying? Which should be, that's another topic.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. So while they're having that position, I will throw stones at them if they're not acting right. So I agree with Akademiks on that.
Yeah, I do. I agree with him too. It's just cringe when you watch it. It's like, bro, are you? You know, I mentioned it in the last topic, and I'll say it again. You know, when we talked about Steven Jackson on that with them O Block videos, talking about how he checks in,
right.
And it's like, bro, you're almost 50 years old. What do you mean you checking in? Like, it's just weird stuff. It's just weird, man. But like, that's what this stuff is going to look like as it ages. It's just going to be the same thing, except the people are going to be older who are doing it. You know, it looks, we internalize it as normal when we see young artists talking like this. Mm-hmm. And we are perturbed by it when it's an older artist who's talking like this. And what I'm suggesting is they're the same person.
Yeah.
Like, because they're coming up in the same ecosystem. So it's odd to us and it's off-putting because we're witnessing it in real time. Mm-hmm. But in retrospect, when you look back on it, it's just going to be like, this is just what it looked like as it aged. But I truly do believe that, you know, when it comes to hip hop culture specifically, it's just not being granted the room and the freedom to age gracefully, in my opinion. It's not. And I do think that there is maybe not people like Jim Jones, Benzino, Birdman, because you listen to the way that these guys talk, and it's like, okay, they're just going to be stoked in that for the rest of their lives.
Right.
But I get the impression that there's some of these artists who are older and they want to be able to mature, but they feel like they have to play the hip hop role despite how old they are. Mm-hmm. And it just comes off looking silly. But I think that they are trapped in a state of identity crisis somewhat because they feel like they don't have the lane to do it because it's been dictated to them that if you want to stay in hip hop, you have to acquiesce to this behavior because that's what it means to be hip hop, quote unquote. And that's the tragedy in the whole thing. Because I think that there's more room for some more. I think we can have more artists who do feel empowered to do age appropriate stuff. Mm-hmm. There's not enough of them, but there is some of it that does exist. However, I do believe there could be more if there was a more conducive, friendly environment in terms of cultivating that so that people feel comfortable and empowered to do it. I think there's more artists who would like to do it, but they feel like they have to keep doing that because in their mind, they don't have a choice.
Yeah, which is crazy. And that's the power of being your own person and being your own thinker, man, and moving the hell on with your life, bro. But yeah, a lot of these guys attach their ego to and their self-worth to the attention that they get from fans or so-called fans, because these people switch on you at the drop of a dime. But these people live off that currency, not the actual money, but the attention that they get from their fan base. And you know what I'm saying? And as soon as they come out with something that is close to them and is probably age appropriate, for instance, and the streets go, hey man, I want that brick talk. With that brick talk, man, why ain't giving me no bricks? I'm trying them birds. And it's just like, look, man, the guy trying to grow up. Why don't you grow up? but they don't care about that. And so once their numbers or their attention and stuff like that goes down, they revert right back to it because they got to scratch that itch. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you see people like Jeezy, for instance, flip-flop and go back and forth, because he wants to grow up and do age appropriate, but when he does, nobody checks for it. But as soon as he's Snowman 3, you know what I'm saying? Here they are again. So yeah, man, just be comfortable in your own skin, bro. But that's hard to tell these dudes, that a lot of these dudes who sold themselves years ago to be in the position that they are in. So what is there to claim besides that person that you become through whatever this industry is? So a lot of these guys cling on to that and they become caricatures of a person. And you know, it is what it is. So it's sad stuff, man. And that's why people shouldn't look up to these guys because they've sold themselves years ago, and this is the remnants of it. Yeah. And so then you ask yourself, well, why is this 50-year-old man acting like he a crash out? Because he ain't him. He sold himself decades ago. So yeah, no need to idolize these guys. So I think highlighting it, pointing our finger at it, and going, hey, that's what I'm not trying to be, because we can point at Nas and go, I can understand that. So if it's people out there that are behaving as you see fit, then there's no problem with being 50 and rapping. But for these guys that are out here that acting like they 25 when they 52, I'm going to call that out every time and tell everybody else to point and laugh, because we need to shame this behavior and stop enabling it. So
I agree. But at the same time, we also need to, and I say we, but you know what I mean? Like there needs to be a more welcoming and inviting environment in terms of allowing some of these people to age with comfort. But I hear you though. Like it takes one being mature enough to have a mind of their own and be willing to just be who they want to be and not care. Ultimately, I agree with that 100%. That's really what it takes. But it would be helpful if this particular culture wasn't so hyper obsessed with youth and juvenile degenerate behavior, and it currently still is. It currently still is. So,
it's sad.
Yeah. What can you do?
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Dave East, I guess, and Fabolous, I guess, because Fabolous didn't really do that, I guess. So
no, Fabolous catching strays because he wearing headbands. I really don't think there's an issue with the way Fabolous dresses personally. Like I kind of just feel like he's an older rapper who still embraces hip hop from a fashion perspective. Like, I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. Just like I don't think there's anything wrong with Steven Tyler wearing his weird stuff, because that's what they do over there on that side with the rock and roll. But the behavior part, I agree with you. That does need to get called out. You know, it's weird. We care so much about this hip hop stuff, yet we refuse to allow it to age. It's odd, but yeah, it's stunting its growth. It's still at a point where its growth is stunted, in my opinion.
Agreed. Crazy.
And we close things out with some reaction to Odell Beckham Jr. talking about how difficult it is to live on $100 million.
Wow.
So for anyone who is unaware of this, Odell Beckham was on an episode of The Pivot, and there was a piece of that interview that went viral in which he talks about the struggles of having $100 million contract and how easily it can be spent and how it can't, and how it doesn't really last that long, so on and so forth. A lot of people have been blasting him online for these comments because on the surface they're absurd. How can it be difficult to make $100 million last a lifetime? But then, you know, he's had people who have come to his defense. One of those people being Carmelo Anthony, who's on his own show and basically was trying to explain what OBJ was trying to get at. So, you know, the initial comments have some detractors, but OBJ also has his defenders. So this says Carmelo Anthony agrees with Odell Beckham Jr.'s claim that $100 million isn't enough to live on. Carmelo Anthony says he understands OBJ's now viral claim that a $100 million contract isn't as life-changing as people think. On a new episode of his 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast, the former NBA star broke down why Beckham's comments about the challenges of stretching a 5-year, $100 million NFL deal made perfect sense to him. Anthony said many fans have no idea how fast that money shrinks once taxes, fees, and lifestyle adjustments hit. He explained that between federal, state, and city taxes, especially in markets like New York, athletes can lose nearly half of their earnings immediately. So I'm going to skip the quotes because we're going to play the video. Melo emphasized that even though athletes earn large sums, the sudden shift to a high-profile lifestyle can create pressures many aren't prepared for. His comments echo Beckham Jr.'s recent explanation on the Pivot podcast, where the Miami Dolphins receiver said a $100 million contract, which becomes closer to $60 million after taxes, must stretch across years of expenses, investments, and family responsibilities. Beckham argued that without discipline, even elite earners risk financial trouble. Shannon Sharpe also reacted to the clip, questioning Beckham's math and suggesting that proper financial discipline should make $100 million more than workable, but Beckham wasn't having it. After the old clip resurfaced and sparked widespread debate, OBJ took to Twitter to respond to the backlash. Boy, you can't say nothing in this world nowadays. That's why I've been in my own lane, in my own world. People love to take stuff completely out of context to rationalize a statement in their own head. What a world. So we'll go ahead and get out of this. And here are Odell Beckham Jr.'s initial comments about the difficulties of making $100 million last.
There's people like, bro, you give somebody a 5-year, $100 million contract, right? What is it really? It's 5 years for 60. You're getting taxed. That's 12 a year, that you have to spend, use, save, invest, flaunt, like whatever, however, just being real. I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna give my mama a house, I'm gonna do everything costs money. If you're spending $4 million a year, that's really $40 million over 5 years, 8 a year. That's a 5-year span of where you're getting $8 million. Can you make that last forever? And you always hear the people who ain't us and ain't been in the position like, oh, well, that would last a lifetime. We weren't taught about no financial literacy and all the way. We weren't talk about it all the time. We weren't taught this skill. All right, so that's that. And then when we exit from there, here is Carmelo with guest J.R. Smith. Shout out to J.R. Smith. Commenting on this. And they were basically saying that they hear where Odell Beckham is coming from.
High school, bro. I went from literally like homeroom and kicking it with the homies to going to practice for 2 hours, and then the rest of the day do what you want to do with a pocket full of cash. I went from like 200 to like 10,000 whenever I wanted to at the bank. That's life changing, bro. That was weird.
I feel what Odell is saying. $100 million, but it's not really $100 million in over a 5-year span.
Pay attention, y'all.
You got taxes alone that's going to hit you. Boom. You can't do nothing about that. Half your check. So that 10 goes to 5 over 5 years. So now within that 5, now you got other taxes that you got to pay. Then you got to live. You got to get a house. You're going to take care of your moms.
4% ages fee.
So now you got to bust down to 5. Yes, you got to change your lifestyle, but your lifestyle changes drastically. That drastic lifestyle change you up mentally. That's the gray area that a lot of athletes up. Having this to now got to budget on a day-to-day basis. I got to budget how I'm going to pay my mortgage. I got to budget how I'm going to pay my car note. You got to come back to reality now because now you ain't got the bread. You got to be honest.
Modest and honest. You got to live a modest. Yes.
And you got to be willing to accept that. We self-sabotage ourselves a lot. That anxiety is real because most guys, and I know in basketball, you got 2 hours of your day. After that, you got the rest of the day to do whatever the you want to do. And nobody is on you saying, yo, Meth, don't do that. Yo, Meth, don't go there. Yo, Meth, don't like nobody. So you on your own at 19, 20.
All right. So there they were trying to explain away where Odell Beckham was coming from. $100 million. And so they broke it down. Taxes and blah, 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 blah. So now you're working with $50 million. Okay. Let's say for the sake of argument, we're talking $50 million and not 100. What did you think, man? You think there was any validity to any of this? What OBJ said and Carmelo co-signing it?
I can't go for any of this. And shout out to Carmelo, man. I think he's a cool guy. You know, and but I can't go for this take. I understand what he's coming from, and I understand what he just said. But that leaves you with $12 million for 5 years. I said, well, what the hell are you doing with that? What are you doing with that? I can't go for that, bro. If you're telling me that, I know how that money can go fast. If you're trying to live like the Joneses,
Jeff Bezos, yeah.
Yeah, you trying to get the, this, $6 million house. How much that property tax going to be? You know how much the bills are just going to keep that factory alive every month. It's like $40K a month in bills. Then you got your Bugatti outside. What are you doing? Nobody told you to do that. And honestly, bro, you know what I'm saying? I would have been inclined because I know, listen, me personally, I would have known how financially dumb I am. So because of that, after the government taxed me half, I would tax myself and then put that money off in investments and other stuff. Excuse me. I would have money working for me. I would be investing a lot. I would have been doing that. Why? So I know I can spend more later. Like me personally. And that's not coming from no surprise. You could have gave 19-year-old me that much money. I would have known that how dumb I am. And I would have paid for provisions to make sure I don't go broke again. That's how easy it is. Instead of you dropping $40K in a strip club, because I know you did that. You know what I'm saying? I know you did that. So don't tell me nothing, bro. These dudes would spend my entire year's salary when I was working at Walmart. They would spend my entire year's salary in an afternoon.
Right.
And then now they're sitting there telling me it's hard to live, man. What'd you spend that money on, bro? So they've been, the only thing that they can justify is with any of this is how detached from reality they really are. But other than that, man, I don't want to hear any of this. If you're just getting $1 million a year, after then took all the taxes and you got $1 million a year to buy a house for your mama and do all this other stuff, you still shouldn't be broke. Because people is making it out here off of, man, I was making it work off $27K at Walmart, $30K at Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Barely. But I was making it happen. I'm still alive, baby. So all in all, man, I don't want to hear that these guys can't live like the Joneses, be on a yacht, fly private planes, snort the purest of powders or whatever Odell Beckham's into nowadays.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to hear that, you know what I'm saying, you having $15 million, $12 million a year after taxes is not enough money. I don't want to hear that. But what are your thoughts, man, on OBJ out here saying that, hey, man, that's not enough money to live off of for whatever of 5 years, $100 million. That's not enough money. What are your thoughts, man? And Carmelo Anthony backing him up.
I give them credit for understanding that to a certain degree they are responsible for why that money doesn't last as long as they'd like it to. Mm-hmm. Odell Beckham Jr. talked about not learning financial literacy, and Carmelo talked about self-sabotage. So to a certain degree, there is an understanding on the part of both of them that a good portion of the reason as to why that $100 million isn't enough is because of their own decision making, not because it literally isn't enough. So I'm willing to give them credit for that acknowledgement. However, given the fact that I am giving them credit for that acknowledgement, I then have to disagree with the general idea that it isn't enough or that it can't be stretched or it can't be lived off of for the duration of the lifespan of that contract. I vehemently disagree with that. you know, with Odell Beckham, man, and it's like to each their own. You live your life, you make whatever decisions that you want to make, do whatever makes you happy, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, he can talk about the taxes and the fees and the living expenses and taking care of people all he wants. But he was also running around with models halfway across the world,
Exactly.
photographed doing drugs.
Allegedly.
Like, and I'm not making that up. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure all of that gallivanting costs some money.
Yeah, of course.
So there's a certain aspect of one's inability to live off of $100 million that has nothing to do with the capability of $100 million to be lasting in a vacuum, and more to do with your poor individual decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that they posit these talking points in these clips, it's as if the market is dictating that they don't make enough money.
Right.
I think that that's where it's irresponsible. And you said before, you made a point about living within your means.
Mm-hmm.
These are all matters of personal responsibility. Like if that $100 million is what you have to work with over the course of 5 years, then maybe buy a 6-7 bedroom house and don't buy a compound. You know, maybe buy yourself a Range Rover and a Benz as opposed to a Lamborghini or a Bentley or whatever. The idea is make the decisions fiscally that one should make so that you are able to elevate the relative levels of your lifestyle, but still be able to be in an advantageous position in which you are financially free and don't have to be concerned with what your next contract is going to look like. But if you're living beyond your means and doing crazy stuff, that's a matter of personal responsibility. The taxes and the fees and the markets don't have anything to do with that. That's a you problem.
Right.
But, you know, I just don't like the way, I just don't like the fact that the way that they talked about it was taxes going to take half of that. And where you live, the fees, you know, state income tax, federal tax takes this, and agent fees take this. What you are describing is nothing unique unto you. Every other professional athlete deals with that with their contracts. And
Right.
the vast majority of those guys aren't getting $100 million deals.
No. They're not.
The vast majority of professional athletes will never see a $100 million deal. That is reserved for the elites, the small percentage who can garner that much because of the work that they put in. Everybody else is signing $4 or $5 million deals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the average maximum contract for an NFL player, I'm assuming, is somewhere around 10 to 15 million. That's what's going to be the max that you can hope to earn if you play to the highest of your potential and you're not a superstar. Like, what's the best deal that you're going to make in your career at that point? Something, I'm assuming, that's under $20 million. So, you know, I just think at the end of the day, this is about personal responsibility and less about the ability of $100 million to last. I just don't buy that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, while I am appreciative of the fact that they acknowledge the importance of financial literacy and one not self-sabotaging themselves, let's make no mistake about it. Everybody is at the mercy of taxes. And I'm not talking about regular everyday people. I'm talking about other millionaires. I'm talking about other pro athletes, other millionaires, other entertainers, other people who sign on the dotted line for multi-million-dollar contracts. They got to pay taxes too. They have agents too. They got to take care of their mama too. They got to buy a house too. They're going to buy cars too. Yet some of them seem to be okay with $100 million versus others who seem to find it difficult to live off of. So what is the disconnect in that? Explain that to me.
I agree, man. And I get it. I get what they're saying, but it's hard to feel sorry for this because these guys find themselves surrounded by a lot of people that know how to get it. And the only thing that you got to do is collaborate with somebody that knows how to get it. And now, you know, you're plugged into this financial system, or you're plugged into this real estate thing in California now, because I'm Odell Beckham and I play with the Rams. You know what I'm saying? It's like, just get yourself plugged in, bro. Like, this ain't hard, bro. You know, while you up there snorting lines allegedly at these parties, why don't you actually rub some elbows to get money with some of these people in here? You know what I'm saying? Instead of hanging out with Justin Bieber. But that's where his mind was at, you know? So it's hard to feel sorry for it, man. It really is, bro. For people out there that's really got real jobs, man. There's people out there that work at Sonic, and this is no dig, bro. There's people that work at Sonics right now. You know what I'm saying? Jack in the Box. And they're hearing Odell Beckham cry that $100 million contract is just not enough money.
That you can't live on it, right?
Yeah, you can't live off it. Are you flipping kidding me, bro? Like that's the part about it that will never settle for me. I can't agree with that ever. So I get the part about financial literacy, but they force you guys to take these courses, whether you listen to these guys or not. But you guys get lectured every year before the draft. You guys get lectured every year when you're rookies. All right. Now, whether you guys want to hear these stories or not, that's on you. But you guys are taught. You guys are told these stories. You guys seen that generations before y'all that wasn't getting the checks that y'all are getting. All right. And how those guys panned out. You know what I'm saying? So there's been so many case studies. So for Melo and OBJ, who had, I mean, because bro, when we were growing up, I was hearing these stories in high school about how these professional athletes are broke after they retire. So there's been enough empirical data on how this thing go. So there's all of these excuses, bro. Like, I get it, what you're saying with as far as the self-sabotage, because that's a thing. Self-sabotage is a thing. People be knowing what's going on while they self-sabotaging and still self-sabotage. So I mean, I get that. But the financial literacy, like, I get all of that, but I can't go for that. These are $50 million, $50 million over their life career or whatever, $100 million, $200 million, and there's no reason to be broke. I'm sorry, and
I agree.
Yeah, I can't go for that. So, as much as I respect Melo, and I know he just taking up for his fellow athletes, but nah, bro. And I looked it up, man. They said the average NFL salary is $3.2 million per year. And I think it's like based on other things or whatever. But even if it's like within that realm of even if it's like $4 or $5 million, that's not this stuff that OBJ was talking about.
Right. Well, that is, I figured that number would be around that much, but that's all salaries.
That's all salaries, right?
That's taking into account all salaries. But I'm pretty sure, like, the mid player or the player who has a really good year and he's in a contract year, those guys, what I was saying was, I would imagine the average career is 7 years. NFL career is like 6-7 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. So what is the top end possible deal on average that those guys will make throughout the course of the lifespan of their career? It's something like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 million, something like that. Mm-hmm. So superstars, of course, are going to make way more than that. In terms of the biggest contract that they ever signed. Mm-hmm. But, those other players who are the mid guys, the average guys, the above average guys, the good players, they probably will have one contract. So, those guys, right, they're also the ones where they only get one chance at a contract. But if they're able to hit that one contract that's going to hopefully set them up for life, probably around 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, something like that, And you're talking about 100 million, and mind you, those guys, everybody. The reason why I'm discounting the whole taxes and fees and all of these other expenses is because that's not unique to OBJ. Everybody's paying that. Right. So every pro athlete, whether it's $100 million contract or $5 million contract, is paying taxes. Everybody's doing that. Everybody. So to me, it boils down to personal responsibility. At the end of the day, like, what is your frame of reference? What is the lifestyle that you're trying to live? That's really what determines your ability to live on $100 million or not. It's not about the market or the taxes or the economy or how expensive stuff is. That's not something that is unique to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at all of these, like, you look at all of these other athletes who sign mega deals. I don't hear them talking like this. It's the ones who don't have the right head on their shoulders.
Right.
They're the ones who are going to be talking like this. So if he wasn't making the right decisions with his money, he's going to be talking like that. But don't make it in a vacuum about the money not being enough, because there's other players making less than you and they're doing just fine.
Thank you. Exactly.
And there's players who make as much as you and they're doing just fine. And there's players who make a little more than you and they're doing just fine. That's a you problem. That's
Right.
not the market or the economy or how expensive stuff is. That is you. That's why people are rolling their eyes at these comments. That's why. It ain't because they don't understand, and and of course, they're going to be dismissive towards the idea that a person who's not in their position couldn't possibly understand it. Like, oh, they ain't us, so of course they're gonna say that. No, bro, it's common sense, bro. I'm looking at the market that you're in. I'm not comparing my circumstance to yours. I'm comparing you to your contemporaries. I'm not comparing you to a 9-to-5er. I'm comparing you to other millionaire pro athletes, other NFL players, hell, other receivers. If it was really like that, we'd hear everybody talking like that, or at least way more people talking like that. But you're the one who's talking like that because you have the problem with discipline financially. So that's a you problem. And so, yeah, like you, I feel no sympathy for them. Where are these other receivers? I don't hear any of these other. I don't hear a lot of these other receivers talking like this. It's just you, bro, because you was running around out there going to Diddy parties and hanging out with Kim Kardashian. That's where your money went, bro.
Yeah. And I'm saying, and again, I could see if this was like the first generation or even the second generation of athletes to make, big money. But there's been, relatively speaking, athletes were always making a lot more than average everyday person. And those guys were going broke too. So there's been enough empirical data out there, enough information. These guys can't sit here and go, we didn't know. There's been so much information about this that I can't go for that. These guys are too young to be saying that, Now, if this was, the Isaiah Thomas era or the Dominique Wilkins type stuff or whatever, those guys got more of a case to say why I ain't got no money. First, we weren't getting as paid as much, and B, like, hell, we didn't know how this game go. But there's been so much. Odell Beckham, I think his dad played ball too, so I can't. Yeah, you're not coming from ignorance all the way, bro. Like, I can't go for this. So, sorry, OBJ, not buying it. And sorry, Melo, got to disagree with you here, man. I see where you're coming from, bro, but at the end of the day, you can't justify not being able to hold on to $50 million. They took half. All right, it's $50 million. All right, agents take 4%. All right, bro, 45%, $45 million. Give me a flipping break, bro.
I don't think it makes a difference.
It doesn't, bro. Like, don't play with me, man. Don't buy a $10 million house in Malibu. Maybe then you'll have some money left. But yeah, can't go for it.
It's funny. The last thing that I'll say, and this is to piggyback off of your point about marriage being practical because it keeps you out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had a theory that there's a correlation between marriage and discipline and responsibility. And I'm not necessarily I'm not arguing causation, but I'm arguing correlation, right? And I don't think it's a coincidence that people like Odell Beckham Jr. and others who were living that life and being out in the streets and being single are hollering foul about, money not stretching. And then you got these other NFL players who are just as rich as him, signing contracts that are comparable. They're around the same age as him, but they're not living the same type of lifestyle. They have different sensibilities. they're married and they're guys who are just kind of locked into that. And they're not talking about how the money don't last, you know? And again, I'm not necessarily saying that it's causal, but I do believe there's a correlation between those two things. And, you know, Trevor Lawrence, for example, is a married dude, and he has a contract that is in that ballpark in terms of the overall gross potential of the life of the contract. And I don't think we'll be hearing him talk about how it's not enough money. You know, a lot of these players who live more settled, grounded lives, and they have those kinds of sensibilities, and they're not trying to be out in the streets and be celebrities. It just so happens that they all don't talk about how the money's not enough. But the guys who are on the opposite ends of that spectrum, of course you're talking about how it's not enough. Look at how you're living.
Right.
When, once again, that's a you problem. That's not the money. In a vacuum, it's not. It's a you problem. So I agree with you, man. I don't have any sympathy for him either.
Yeah, can't do it, OBJ, bro. I can't do it, bro.
Hey, but shouts out to Odell Beckham, man. I hope whatever you got going on, it can, you know, you can parlay that into some more ends for you, because I'm guessing by the way that you're talking, it kind of sounds like you're in need of it, which to me is crazy. But
same, bro.
You know, what can you do, man? But ladies and gentlemen, we are done. We're out of here. Another stream is in the books. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that. Leave a comment, hit a like button, let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video, man. Subscribe to the channel. JV Wins, Dogon SS. We are back at it once again. To everybody checking us out for the first time, this is how we like to kick it. So let us know what you think about any of these various topics. We don't necessarily care that you agree with what we have to say, but we would prefer that you are constructive. So long as you're constructive, it's all good. We're not trying to run a cult here. We don't need everybody to agree with us. We just want to engage in constructive dialogue. Check out Conscious Approach on Instagram at check out Conscious Approach on both Instagram and TikTok at Conapproach, CONAPPROACH, and check me out on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. As I always like to say, people, don't be a group thinker. Have a mind of your own. Think for yourself. And until next time, we appreciate you supporting our brand of logical content, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah. And the name is Dogon SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS, on YouTube, DraftKings, MySpace, Facebook, Meta. Hell, man, if there's a social media platform out there, Dogon_SS is also out there. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow, and all that good jazz. And as I say every week, guys, we greatly appreciate you guys for watching, liking, sharing, consciously leaving comments. I mean, without you guys, there are no us out here crushing it weekly. Please stay tuned and join us live next time. All right. And as I say every week as well, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot, because $100 million over 5 years is more than enough money. All right. So until next week, guys, I got more rings than Robert Ory. And we'll see y'all next week.
That's right. Shout out to Shaitan ED on the chat for tuning in. And shouts out to everybody else who was watching, man. We appreciate you very much. We are going to go ahead and close out so that I can recharge my introvert battery, because it is quite empty at the moment. But yeah, we out of here, folks. We'll see you later. Thank you for watching. Peace.
Okay, baby, we're playoff, baby.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, playoff bound. Yeah. Right. Congrats, man.
Hey, bro, we in the building, dog.